Comicprime presents new series What if you were transported to another world, and granted the power to form contracts with any creature you wished? Would you choose adorable beasts for companionship? Ruthless monsters for protection? Or maybe even seal deals with powerful girls to start your dream harem? But reality is far from fantasy. In this world, things are far more brutal. Our main character was mocked, his power considered the most useless of them all. It said he can only contract with a creature if it willingly eats a special gem. Even the weakest beasts turn away from it in disgust. People even joked that he pulled the gem from somewhere indecent, but that's a story for another time. Alone in Pearl City, he couldn't understand why everyone acted like nothing was wrong. Couldn't they see the danger? The monsters? This place wasn't paradise, it was a hunting ground. And he hadn't even begun his journey, yet everything already felt like it was ending. But instead of giving in, he chose something no one had ever dared, to contract with himself. Now, no alien beast or zombie horde would threaten his world without consequence. He would stand in their way, his own summoned beast. In his previous life, he was just a lifeguard who died in an accident. But here, in this world of awakened powers and alien creatures, he was reborn, and with him, the mysterious contract gem. The power to bind souls, wills, and consciousness, but only if the other party accepted the gem willingly. One day, as he held the crystal, Su Jingya asked him what he was doing. With a smile, Ping joked that maybe she wanted candy and offered her the gem. Disgusted, she brushed him off. Who'd want to be under your control? Ping slumped on the steps, muttering that he was only joking. Truth is, the power won't work unless the creature is fully aware and accepts the contract. The original owner of this body had nearly died because of that condition. Thankfully, his mental strength from his past life kept him alive. Jingya scolded him for giving up so easily. The world is huge. There's got to be some creature out there willing to be yours, she insisted. Grabbing his head, she pushed him to keep going. He was skeptical. Who else but me would even do this? But then it clicked. Why hadn't he thought of it earlier? To her shock, Ping swallowed the crystal. A green aura exploded around his body. Jingya panicked. Are you okay? He nodded, and she sighed in relief. Don't scare me like that again. As they walked down the stairs, she said it was getting late, time to return to the dorms. She had a patrol assignment early in the morning. You don't have to wait for me, she smiled. Ping asked if she was really about to graduate high school. She nodded, eyes on the stars. She had mastered all the theory, now it was time for real battle. She always wanted to protect her home, and now, that dream was within reach. She told him not to lose hope. One day, when he gets stronger, they could even fight together. Ping scratched his head and chuckled. People predicted he'd end up farming because of his useless ability. Maybe I should just go back to the village, he muttered. He doubted they'd ever meet again. She was just the childhood friend of this body's former owner, but saying goodbye still hurt. The green spirit now within him moved his body. Gently, he hugged her. Surprised, she slowly stepped away. It's getting late, she said. I should go. Take care of yourself, Ping called after her. She paused. You too. As she walked away, he looked at his hand, wondering, had he just ordered his body without realizing it? He needed to find out, how much control did he really have over himself now? Later, during training, Ping began to test it, wondering if his control over his own body was even stronger than he imagined. But then, his green spirit spoke up with a strange command. Take off. He slammed his head into the ground with determination. Right after, he activated his armor and tried to perform a somersault. But he wasn't some expert in parkour, and instead of flipping gracefully, he landed flat on his face. His strength was gone. He couldn't go on any longer. Now it was clear, his body could do nearly anything, but only if it stayed within the bounds of what's considered normal. Flying or morphing into something else was out of the question. However, some things he could still manage even if he hadn't practiced them, so long as they came from memory. That meant, theoretically, if he could increase his physical stats, he could master any martial art. The key lay in enhancing his body, and if he found a way, he could grow even stronger. But there was something else he needed to test. The next day, he woke up in the dining room. Confused, he tried to remember how he got there. But more than anything, it was the pain in his legs that shocked him. He had told himself before sleeping to go on a morning run. Had his body actually followed the command while he was unconscious? Apparently, yes. He slammed his fists on the table and smiled to himself. It was true, his body could follow his orders, even without his mind being awake. Suddenly, commotion filled the room, everyone was talking about Lu. She had arrived, and the whole school was greeting her like a goddess. She waved to everyone, as always. Ping remembered this scene. Did she always get up this early? Then something felt off. He glanced around, uneasy. What's going on? He muttered. And then, he froze in horror. That wasn't Lu. In her place stood a grotesque creature with a mouth full of razor-sharp fangs. It grabbed a student and devoured him whole. And no one else reacted. Why? Why couldn't they see it? This wasn't Lu at all. It was something else, her face torn away, replaced by a black void, twisted smile, and rolling eyes. She was a puppet, hanging on invisible strings tied to the monster's claws. She approached Ping and whispered that he didn't look too well. In the real world, she moved toward him calmly and asked if he was feeling ill. He didn't see her anymore. Only the monster behind her, its claw inches away from piercing his shoulder. He forced himself to breathe. Smile. Stay calm. I had a nightmare, he said, trying to sound casual. Didn't sleep well. He stood up and walked away slowly. Classes would start soon anyway. But as he left, Lu's twisted form stared at him with one horrifying eye, and smelled his fear. Was she imagining it? Or something worse? Wandering through the school, Ping shoved his hands into his pockets, lost in thought. What were these alienated beasts doing here? Why couldn't anyone else see them? Were these just hallucinations? He peered into a classroom, and froze again. Right in front of him, a monster was ripping a man to shreds. His heart pounded in fear. He bolted, running to the school's rooftop, collapsing on a bench. And then, he screamed. What the hell is going on? Is this some kind of hell on earth? A crystal fell from his pocket. He picked it up and stared at it. When he ate the crystal, the alienated became visible. That much was clear. Maybe if he consumed it again, things would return to normal. He swallowed it. A green glow surrounded him. What now? He muttered. A system window appeared in the air. Identification successful. Playback begins. He watched a replay of the moment when the monster attacked a person, then the image vanished. His heart sank. Did I just awaken an ability? A digital grid flickered across his hand. A status panel appeared. Race, human height, level, 1 agility, 11 strength, 12 mental strength, infinity beast and owner. Confirmed the crystal had a name. Gem of the first level contract. It consumed physical and mental energy. But if someone chose to leave it willingly, their soul and life would be bound to the summoner. Ping wondered, does this gem have levels? How do I know if the effect is working? A system note answered him. Absolute command. The summoner holds total authority over the beast. Absolute obedience. The summoned beast cannot disobey, no matter what. Beginner identification technique allows him to read his own stats and scan targets. Success depends on the strength difference. The realization hit him. He had become his own summoned beast and summoner. Only he could control himself. No outside force could sway his mind or soul now. Because of this, illusions held no power over him. He could see the alienated for what they truly were. They were celestial foxes. Powerful, otherworldly beings. And at just level 1, he was hopelessly outmatched. Even if one of these foxes devoured someone in broad daylight, everyone else would only see 2 students having a normal conversation. The illusion was too strong for average minds. Ping thought back to Jing. Her abilities were spiritual too. Maybe she could help. Maybe she could see what he now saw. That evening, he walked home in silence. He had no idea that creatures like this existed outside the school walls. Ping walked beside the people on the street, but something felt off. He didn't see them as humans anymore. They appeared like monsters. How many of them are there? He thought, a growing unease settling in. When he arrived near the patrol headquarters, he scanned the building from the ground up before stepping inside. A girl at the reception desk greeted him politely, asking if she could assist in any way. Ping looked at her awkwardly. I'm looking for Jing Yao, he said. She was supposed to come in today. The girl, who also turned out to be a heavenly fox, nodded and asked him to wait. Ping quietly walked over and sat on a sofa, his thoughts racing. Are there heavenly foxes on the patrol too? Even the advanced ones, can't they see through their own illusions? Just then, a familiar voice called his name. It was Jing Yao. She walked up to him with a smile and asked why he was there. Caught off guard, Ping scratched his head, admitting he was worried she wouldn't fit in and came to check on her. With confidence, she gestured to the people around her and said they were her new colleagues, people who would look after her. Ping tried to smile, though there was sadness in his eyes. That's really great, he murmured. She raised her fist with resolve and told him she would grow stronger, strong enough to avenge her parents and fight monsters. Then, smiling, she asked if he'd consider joining the patrol too. We're still short on people. Ping waved his hand awkwardly. No. I wouldn't be any help. Farming suits me better. He turned to leave. She apologized softly, and Ping gave her one last smile. But as soon as he turned away, his smile faded. Behind him, every person, including Jing Yao, was a heavenly fox. Ping left the building with a heavy heart. Is this some kind of sick joke? Isn't the patrol supposed to be the strongest force in Pearl City? Then how did she disappear like that? He stopped in the middle of the street, realizing something terrifying. The sky foxes aren't just inside the schools, they've spread throughout the city. The entire population is their livestock. Using his identification skill, Ping had learned a few things. Sky foxes are categorized by levels, beginners from 10 to 19, medium from 20 to 29, high from 30 to 39. The patrol, filled with high-level awakened ones, should have been a tough match. Yet someone had killed Xia, someone strong. Too strong. Ping's instincts told him if he tried using identification on that person, the level would be blocked. Could it be a royal fox? Royal foxes are said to be level 40 and above. That's beyond high level, it's elite. Unlike alienated beasts, the sky foxes are highly intelligent. They blend in, coexist with humans, and strike when no one expects. They target influential people, leaving the rest of the population as backup food. Getting involved with the sky foxes, it's suicide. But Ping couldn't just stand back and watch innocent people die. If only he could grow stronger. A week passed. One morning, Ping woke up at 4 a.m. He'd been rising earlier each day. The more he trained, the less sleep he needed. Physical workouts had pushed him to a new level. Alongside this, he had been trying to craft and consume magic stones, gems like the ones that gave him powers before. But ever since he awakened his identification skill, every gem he created had been colorless, useless. Until today. Today's crystal shimmered purple. He tossed the gem in his hand. It looked promising, though not very appetizing. He swallowed it down, hoping for a breakthrough. Immediately, his world shifted. A system panel appeared before him, level 2 growth potential, new skill, Night Walker. He had gained night vision, a reduced sense of presence, increased speed, reduced weight, and even complete invisibility in shadows. It was the perfect skill for moving in darkness. Even the gem of the contract had improved, likely due to his level increase. So, every level up grants me a new talent? He wondered, excitement rising in his chest. He stood up, ready to test it out. As he walked, the Night Walker skill activated. He dashed through the night streets. The world around him was clearer than ever, almost like day. His eyes caught a faint glimmer on the ground. A ring. Just lying there, waiting to be discovered. Just when Ping thought the mystery was over, he paused, knelt down, and picked up a peculiar object, a ring. Curious, he questioned the system multiple times before finally receiving a response. It was no ordinary accessory. The system identified it as a killer's ring. Once worn, the user would be subconsciously ignored by all living beings, except for the higher-level foxes. Ping, taken aback, activated a playback feature. What he saw stunned him. It revealed the moment before the ring was lost. A heavenly fox, disguised as Xiao, stood across from a masked man, clearly the ring's original owner. The man had drawn his sword, ready to strike. But from his gaze, it seemed he saw Xiao as human. Could she have been his enemy? Without hesitation, the fox ended him with a single swipe of her claw. But how could this be? Xiao was an orphan, she shouldn't have enemies. Unless someone else was fighting monsters in the city. As Ping processed the implications, he suddenly heard the fox shout, "Who's there?" The monster neared him, but Ping had already hidden, thanks to the ring. The fox noticed it was missing, confirming someone had been there. Yet no signs were left behind. If someone was able to evade her senses, they must have been an awakened individual of at least mid-tier level. She scanned the surroundings and muttered that His Highness must be informed. Watching from the shadows, Ping questioned whether the ring had been left intentionally. Returning it would seem suspicious. He had no choice but to keep it. At 5:30 a.m., Ping returned home. It was still dark. With the combined effects of the Night Walker's ability and the killer's ring, his presence was completely erased. It became clear to him, strength wasn't only about raw power, tools and gear played a massive role. Not far away, foxes prowled the area. Suddenly, a voice called out his name. Ping turned, startled. It was Jing Yao's spirit. She approached, wrapped her arms around him, and whispered that they were already here. At 5:40 a.m., Ping lay in bed, seemingly asleep, surrounded by several foxes. One of them, Fox SH, smiled and asked, "Is that him?" Gathering energy into his hand, he waved, and aimed to end Ping's life. As his clawed paw hovered inches from Ping's face, they noticed something odd. There wasn't even a flicker of emotion from him. If this boy had any secrets, instinct would have made him flinch. Tian Chong, another fox, questioned His Highness, "Why not kill him? He runs every day, but not today. Something's off." But SH dismissed the concern. "He's not the one. Just a useless human," he replied, commanding his subordinates not to waste their food. Obediently, they knelt and agreed. After they left, Ping finally opened his eyes, shaken. They'd been so close. He glanced at the ring he had secretly hidden and realized something. He had even forgotten that he usually went for morning runs. Thankfully, he had subconsciously commanded his body to stay asleep. Was the voice of Jing Yao just an illusion? Sitting on his bed, Ping stared at the ring. Was he becoming too sentimental? Maybe. But what truly drove him was the desire to grow stronger, to avenge her. He knew one thing for certain: to avoid suspicion from the heavenly foxes, he had to continue pretending to live normally. Later that day at school, the hall buzzed with whispers. A student turned to her friend and asked, "Did you hear? A patrol found a decapitated body near school. It belonged to the infamous Black Death Star, the #1 killer in the city. The man who once wounded the city's former lord, only to later die from those very wounds. Ping's mind flashed back. Was that the man in white? If so, then even the city's deadliest assassin had fallen to these foxes. The corpse had been publicly displayed, a warning to all who dared defy them. Ping realized they wouldn't stop hunting. He needed a weapon. Something, anything, to protect himself. He made a note to visit the workshop after school. On his way, he noticed Tian-chan, holding a megaphone, rallying attention. Ping's system couldn't immediately identify this beast. He then realized, the city's blacksmith workshops were now under fox control. The system finally succeeded. This was the 100th successful identification in a row, upgrading Ping's skill to a mid-level. Now, he could even assess his opponent's growth potential. Tian-chan called out to him, offering a tour. Ping scanned his details. Level 15 alienated fox, 1-star growth potential. His talent? Cognitive manipulation, altering perceptions to hide anomalies. Ping declined, moving on. He had to find a smith not under fox control. As he wandered, he passed the Iron Soul Forge and overheard a man inside praising a blade, admiring its alloy and sharpness. The old man, puffing a cloud of smoke from his mouth, eyed the sword in the customer's hand with a smug grin. He commented that the sword would suit him well and even offered a discount, if the man still wished to buy it. But instead of answering, the old man casually mentioned something about his daughter calling him for lunch. The dissatisfied customer slammed the sword back onto the table and snapped, "Are you completely deaf now?" Before things could escalate, Pink walked over and casually picked up the sword. As he examined it, he activated his analysis skill. The system window popped up, identifying it as a magnificent one-handed sword of ordinary rank, but also noting it was practically useless now due to constant repairs and wear. The man, stunned, shouted angrily, demanding to know who Pink was and who gave him the right to touch his belongings. But before his rage could build further, Pink calmly snapped the brittle sword blade in half, confirming his findings. Suddenly, the man's body began to spark with lightning. His form grew larger, his muscles bulging through his clothes as he yelled, "Do you even know who I am? I'm a disciple of Master Ma, from the Shinji Martial Arts Academy." With blinding speed, he dashed around Pink, his afterimage lingering in the air. Yet Pink stood still, expression calm. Then, without warning, Pink delivered a clean strike to the man's face with his palm. The man was thrown to the ground. Pink's analysis kicked in again. The man's name was Lu Be Good, race, human. His skills included mighty invincible Purii energy, which created flashy visual effects, though overuse gave the illusion of invincibility. Lu Be Good groaned on the ground, accusing Pink of fighting dishonorably. Despite his injuries, he tried to crawl away, muttering that he should take the opportunity to escape. Pink, meanwhile, rubbed his hand, wondering aloud, is this guy even real? But Lu Be Good wasn't finished. With a sly grin, he tried to ambush Pink from behind, hoping to land a surprise blow. The attempt failed spectacularly. He was sent crashing down again with another clean punch from Pink. Smoke curled from Pink's fist as he asked, "And who's the one fighting dishonorably now?" Just then, a young woman stormed into the forge, fists clenched, clearly annoyed. "I was gone for 5 minutes and you wrecked the place again?" she growled. Looking at Lu Be Good, she asked with sharp authority whether he wanted to leave peacefully or get kicked out again. Without hesitation, Lu Be Good fled, apologizing profusely. Pink, still standing by, considered leaving for another shop. But before he could step away, the girl blocked his path and said calmly, "Wait, we need to talk." Pink eyed her suspiciously and asked what it was about. Leaning in close, she told him she was just a girl trying to earn her living, and take care of her grieving uncle, who was shattered after his daughter's disappearance. She added, almost casually, that Pink had a good build and a decent personality too. Flustered and unsure where to look, Pink was about to respond when she unexpectedly hugged him with one arm and offered him a job, as her blacksmith. He would live and work at the shop, take care of her uncle, and in return, she'd provide housing, food, and a salary. Still reeling from the whirlwind offer, Pink thought it over. Training as a blacksmith could save him the cost of equipment. Plus, this place wasn't crawling with foxes like others. With newfound resolve, he flexed his muscles and declared proudly, "I am Monkey to Pin. I will become the king of blacksmiths." With a wide grin, the girl clapped him on the shoulder, so hard that he coughed up blood. "That's what I expected from the one I chose," she laughed. Barely holding on to life, Pink realized his first challenge was simply surviving. Days later, still training under the girl's guidance, whose name was revealed to be X-Chang's sister, he panted heavily during practice. "Are you sure this is right?" he asked, sweat pouring down his face. She reassured him, saying everything was going fine. Today, they were practicing test forging, a technique where materials had to be mixed like kneading dough. Leaving him momentarily, she told him to keep the forge burning and headed to the warehouse to fetch a uniform. The fuel's in the bucket. Don't let the fire go out, she instructed. Pink glanced at the two buckets, one with coal, the other with what looked like red scales from a scarlet snake. He noticed the fire was dying and quickly decided to toss some of the material into the furnace. The reaction was instant and explosive. A violent flame erupted from the furnace, engulfing him. Stumbling backward, covered in soot, he wondered if he was dead. But then, something even stranger happened. A small monster's head emerged from his chest, beginning to absorb the surrounding energy. Overwhelmed by agony, Pink screamed, struggling to resist. As fire reflected in his wide eyes, he gasped, trying to understand what was happening. Breathing heavily, he noticed the fire had suddenly gone out, yet his chest still burned. His heart pounded, pain racked his body, and he began to tremble uncontrollably. Clutching his chest, he whispered, "What is this?" and triggered his analysis skill once again. A system window flickers open before Ping, making him pause. Has his potential increased again? He recalls past situations where gaining a new level would boost his potential, while raising skill levels would diminish it. As long as he continues unlocking new abilities, his potential should keep growing. But if he's right, shouldn't everyone have a limit? Perhaps. Everyone but him. His thoughts drift to the Fire Eater skill. Had it consumed all the escaping flames? He had already achieved the third level of that ability. He even used it on a new stone. So why is the effect showing up only now? Could it be that specific conditions are required? Just then, Chan reappears, concerned. She asks what happened, why everything is covered in soot. Taking his hand, she stares into his eyes with worry. Did he really throw the scales into the fire? That explosion, she blames herself for not warning him. Ping tries to explain the damage, but Chan cuts him off. What matters most is that no one got hurt. Still, she's amazed. How did he extinguish such a powerful fire so quickly? Ping replies that it's a long story. When she sees the alloy, her surprise deepens. She marvels at its quality. Achieving such a result requires extreme temperatures. Holding it carefully, she places it into a mold and praises him. He's truly talented. With his skill, he could easily join any of the three major organizations. While she works, Ping asks, they always mention the guards and the investigation team as two. What's the third? Chan tests the dagger she just crafted and confirms there are indeed three organizations in Pearl City, but the third is a mystery. No one knows its name or purpose. She hands him the dagger. By the way, she asks, have you tried buying equipment? Ping opens a system window. It identifies the dagger as Tear of Beauty, an excellent quality weapon effective against monsters between levels 10 and 19. He's stunned. Isn't this way too expensive? She nods. The current material exchange rate puts it at $100, 000. Ping's eyes widen. That's 3 years of his salary. How could a guy earning $3, 000 a year possibly keep this? Chan laughs and tells him to take it as a reward for his hard work. She still has some tasks to finish, and she asks if he'll be fine skipping school. Ping assures her, he's already passed all his subjects. She reminds him to look after the old man and absolutely not let him work. Once alone, Ping reflects. The forge is still secure, but the explosion might have drawn attention. That night, he sets out on a reconnaissance mission. Later, a little girl swings joyfully among the debris. A system window pops up. Mutant Heavenly Fox, a level 3 variant. Ping is shocked. It's rare to see such a low-level fox. He's at her level, but his gear gives him an edge. Should he try? But before he can act, his hand freezes. A chilling voice behind him threatens. If he so much as moves, he'll die. He's paralyzed, a hand gripping his shoulder. This woman is leagues beyond him. His skills and ring are useless. The translucent figure leans in and tells him to meet her at the orphanage's training ground. If he wants to live. When he spins around, she and her icy presence are gone. He stands still, stunned. If she were with the monsters, he'd be dead. He heads toward the orphanage, recalling the park across from it where he practiced as a child. That's what he called his training ground. But how did she know? In the park, he feels watched. She definitely led him here on purpose. Then, movement, something emerges from the forest. A monster? He activates his analysis skill. System window, shell poisonous rat. A level 5 rodent mutant with venomous bone growths in its tail. Potential, 2. Ping stiffens. This thing is dangerous. He'll need to dodge and maybe retreat. But if kids from the orphanage ran into this, he can't let that happen. He draws his dagger. It's time to stop this mutant. Charging forward, his face hardens. He's no martial arts prodigy, just a guy telling his body to move. But he can still fight. Suddenly, the mutant spins and launches itself at him. Unexpected, but Ping reacts. He blocks with his dagger, straining against its raw strength. Its armor is thick, too tough to break easily. He waits, searching for the right moment. The rat leaps back onto a stone and starts firing poison from its tail. Ping dodges frantically. It's like a game, only this time, he is the character. He spots an opening. Its eyes are unprotected, he just needs to bait it closer. A system window appears. His Fire Eater skill is fully charged, 100 points. Perfect. He takes a fighting stance. First command, the Pro Fist technique. Suppress the enemy with brute force. He rushes in, dodging poison as he spins the dagger in hand. Stabbing the mutant, he channels the stored flame into his other hand. Smiling slightly, he mutters, "Time to turn up the heat." Flames burst from his hand, engulfing the mutant. It screams. Ping focuses his fire into the dagger, ready to strike. He aims at its weak point and attacks, point blank. A system alert rings out. Level up. Level 4 unlocked. Endurance, 16 strength, 17 dexterity, 19 Ping always believed that real combat teaches more than any training ever could. But something felt off this time. Where had that rat come from? He couldn't shake the suspicion that it had been deliberately placed there. After all, only foxes could get past the city's inner walls. Before he could process his thoughts, a strange energy pulled him beneath the ground. "What is this?" he cried out as he was dragged into a dark, unfamiliar space. A mysterious girl appeared, her hand extended toward him. Controlling the energy around her, she declared, "You have 5 minutes." Suddenly, magical water surged around Ping. Startled, he thought to himself, wasn't that the same voice as before? The girl raised her sword and pointed it directly at him. "Prove that you are human," she demanded. Bound by magic, Ping stared at her, baffled. How was he supposed to prove something like that? Did she really know about the foxes hiding in the city? It didn't seem like it, at least, not how to tell them apart. In her eyes, Ping had attacked an ordinary child. Closing his eyes, he asked if she could at least give him a hint. Was the rat part of the test? She remained calm. "You have 4 minutes left." Desperate, Ping tried to analyze the situation. He failed. Again, and again, 20 times in a row. At the 2-minute mark, the system finally pinged. Analysis failed, 999 times. Skill level advanced, new skill unlocked. Organization affiliation analysis result. Name, Laotian race, human level, 28 affiliation. Cleanup team rank, high-ranking awakener skill, water manipulation cleanup team? Ping had never heard of such a group. Could this be a third secret organization? Laotian stood firmly in front of him. 1 minute left. Ping pleaded, "Wait. You called that forest a training ground? So you are from the orphanage too, right?" He racked his memory for any trace of her name. Laotian. Nothing came up. Maybe she changed her name? He tried listing similar names aloud. Her reaction when he said, "Lei," caught his attention. Without warning, she struck with her sword, leaving a thin cut. "That's not proof," she said firmly, stepping closer. Ping was stunned. Is it really her? She had been 3 years older, already graduated, and joined an organization back then. Was there something only they would remember? In a flash of memory, he saw a younger her, grinning, calling her move, Amazing CCE, a technique she claimed was invincible. She used to punch the air and shout out its forms. In the present, Ping mimicked her exactly, laughing. First form. Second. Third. CCE Invincible Fist. She hesitated, putting her sword away. Her expression softened. Then came her second question. According to Academy records, Ping's contract stone skill had always been marked useless, completely inactive. So how had he pulled off everything they'd seen? Ping looked back. 2 weeks ago, I swallowed my own contract stone. He explained how doing so had made him his own summoner. Now, illusions no longer affected him, and with this clarity, he discovered something terrifying. The city was full of foxes. An entire clan had infiltrated it. Their abilities? Cognitive distortion. C's grabbed his clothes. Are you serious? He nodded. I've seen it with my own eyes. The owner of One Cafe, that furniture shop on L Street, 3 blacksmiths on Neath Street, even the little girl I was about to kill, they are all low-level foxes. You can confirm it yourself. C's eyes widened. She released him, stepping back. Stay here, she said. I'll be back. As the tension builds, a mysterious woman pulls out a glowing magic crystal and turns to Jinbo. Do you think we can trust this information? She asks. The man beside her, focused and calm, confirms they've never encountered fox-type beasts in the city before, but they've gathered intel suggesting such creatures possess this very ability. Acting swiftly, he dispatched a team to detain 2 suspects connected to local shops. Suddenly, a thunderous explosion erupts nearby, snapping everyone's attention. 2 figures, dressed identically, sprint toward them, clearly being chased. One of them yells to the commander, "That saleswoman from the shop, she went mad and attacked us as we were trying to leave the city." Without warning, the saleswoman, now a snarling beast, lunges straight at Jinbo. Calm and composed, he channels energy into his fist and mutters, "Bad idea." In an instant, he delivers a devastating blow, sending a shockwave through the air. The beast crashes into the ground, dark energy oozing from her body. Jinbo coldly remarks, she should have thought twice before attacking. As the fox-like creature dies, her magic dissolves. Jinbo observes this and declares, the informant wasn't lying. Now we know exactly what we're dealing with. He signals to his men, warn the other team, we deal with the rest next. His subordinates bow in acknowledgement and rush into action. Meanwhile, far away at Pearl Academy, Shu lies lazily on a balcony. A girl nearby notices her sudden alertness as Shu sits up, startled. "Your Highness," she calls in confusion. Without answering, Shu leaps from the balcony, landing gracefully on a nearby rooftop. Her eyes narrow. "You is dead? They killed her outside the city. And another one, on L Street. They didn't just kill, they vanished without a trace." A monstrous spirit emerges beside her. Filled with fury and confusion, she demands, "What kind of people are capable of this?" Later, Ping is approached by Cece. "Have you checked it out yet?" he asks. Cece nods. "Yes, but there's something strange, he suddenly gained the power to see through illusions. What if this is all a setup?" She decides he'll act as their eyes and ears while she watches over him from the shadows. "If you learn anything," she says seriously, "you report it to me immediately." That night, as Ping stretches his shoulders, he asks, "So? I'll be protected?" Cece nods. "Until the matter with the foxes is settled." She tosses him a cold jade pendant. "It's linked with a warm one. If you're in danger, burn it. Mine will heat up, I'll come." Despite this protection, Cece insists he continue studying. Ping hesitates, mentioning how expensive martial arts tuition is. Cece casually offers to request a scholarship for him, but he'll have to find a school himself. Ping's face lights up. "You'd do that? Thank you so much." Later, Ping walks the streets, lost in thought. The presence of foxes seems to have decreased. They must be working hard behind the scenes. They still don't fully trust him. If not for his sudden analytical ability, he'd probably be dead. But he's determined now. If they're hunting monsters, he'll help. Especially after they gave him 10,000 coins. His thoughts are interrupted by a girl, Wang Zan, handing out flyers. "Interested in the Fist of the King of Beasts? We teach martial arts, everything from basics to secret techniques." Ping looks at the flyer. 500 to 10,000 coins. "That's steep," he mutters. Zan, cheerful and confident, assures him it's worth it. She demonstrates initial forms, the Monkey King's Fist, the Crocodile Monster's Strikes, the Phoenix Claw. Ping watches, amazed. He silently activates his analysis skill and commits the movements to memory. This is better than pro fist styles. She slips during a move, landing hard, but Ping smiles. Despite the fall, he finds the style powerful and intriguing. Suddenly, 2 aggressive men approach. One sneers, "Who gave you permission to hand out flyers here?" Zan apologizes, but the men press on. One mocks their technique, saying they should try the Sure Art School instead. Ping points at him. "Is that the school that teaches fivefold lightning from the knees?" The man snaps, "Idiot. It's fivefold lightning bringing you to your knees." Realization hits. Ping remembers him. He saw him at the forge. The names Sheng, Heong, and Day come to mind. They've been after him. Zan steps in front of Ping. "You won't hurt him," she declares. Ping quickly uses his analysis skill again. The system reveals, race, human name, Shironghin faction, Shinji martial school potential, 1 level, 4 skill, enrichment of the flesh, exchanging 70% intelligence for 30% awakener's strength. Ping's eyes widen. They're trading intelligence for power? He can't help but question, are they even sure that's a real ability? Jiang Ping observed Zone quietly. A subtle smile played on his lips as he read the system window hovering beside her. Human. Faction. Fist of the King of Beasts. Potential. 7 points. Her talent was undeniable. Although her learning speed was stunted by 90% due to her diligence trait, her development during actual practice soared, capable of reaching up to 10,000%. Ping thought to himself, she's got everything ahead of her. With power like hers, she can go far. He handed her a flyer. Zone looked surprised, but before she could speak, Ping gently moved her aside. "Stand here. I'll handle this myself," he said firmly. Worried, Zone glanced at the 3 men approaching. There are 3 of them. They'll kill you, she warned. But Ping just smiled, a chilling, confident grin. You've already shown me the basics of your style. Now it's my turn. 2 of the Shang brothers charged forward. One of them yelled, "You are finished." In a flash, Ping moved behind them. He struck the first attacker's neck with the first form, followed by an elbow to the gut. Then, using the second form, he floored the man with swift precision. The third brother, eyes blazing, prepared an attack, but Ping wasn't faced. With a brutal grin, he struck him below the belt and activated the third form. "Too weak," he scoffed. "You should have brought more." After finishing them off, Ping turned back to Zone. "You are taking me to your school. I want to enroll." She was stunned. "You are serious?" "I am." Delighted, she asked if he could also teach her those incredible moves. Ping nodded, and Zone's eyes lit up. "With your help, I'll get stronger," she said with hope in her voice. Ping glanced at her profile again. With her potential, she might one day become a top-tier awakened being, maybe even the strongest. "I'll need her help when we are at the School of Martial Arts," he thought. Meanwhile, chaos erupted at the school. Someone shouted, "The instructor's back." Panic spread. Students clutched their heads. Wasn't he supposed to be gone for a few more days? One student pointed at another. "Let them punish him." He faked the Monkey King style. Nearby, a boy held his unconscious friend, screaming for him to wake up. Ping asked, "Why is everyone so afraid?" Zone whispered, "Our instructor, B, is strict. If you fail, you are punished harshly." "Even you?" he asked. With surprising pride, she posed. "I've been punished the most. I've been here over a month and still haven't mastered the basics." Ping blinked. "Is that something to brag about?" Just then, the school doors creaked open. A dark figure stepped in. "Attention! Incorrect stance, 50 laps." He bellowed. Ping's device scanned him. Name, BA. Race, human. Camp, animal hunters. Rank, highest awakened. Level, 25. Talent, transform body with food. Stored forms, running wolf and berserk lion. BA's presence terrified the students. Ping thought, he's almost as strong as Sis. BA walked up to him. "Are you the guy from Shingi School?" Ping replied, "So what?" Without warning, BA attacked. Ping barely dodged. "Wait. You're overreacting." BA's fists lit with fire. "I heard you mastered the Monkey King style just by watching it." He lunged, but just before landing the blow, BA stopped and placed a hand on Ping's head. "Didn't believe it at first," he admitted, laughing. "But now I see. Pity the guy who showed you the stance wasn't very skilled. You've got a long way to go." Zone awkwardly looked away, linking her fingers. BA clapped Ping's shoulder. "I'll give you a proper welcome later." He turned to the class, eyes blazing. "Time for training. Anyone who slacks off, 500 push-ups and 10 kilometers with weights." Ping smiled nervously. "This training is brutal." Zone tugged his sleeve. Since the instructor doesn't want to teach me anymore, could you train me instead?" Ping agreed. "No problem. After class, we'll go to the Spirit of Iron. I'll be your coach." Zone lit up. "Really? I was so afraid you'd say no." Ping checked her stats again. Name, Wang Zone. Camp, Animal Hunters. Awakening level, 3. Talent, Diligence. Potential, 7 stars. He reflected, her learning speed may be low, but with consistent training, she improves faster than anyone. No wonder she torments her mentors. Zone bowed. "Please teach me something." Ping sighed. No wonder instructor BA gave up on her. Days later, at the Spirit of Iron, training was in full swing. "Wrong move again," Ping corrected. "Sorry." Zone apologized, repeating the stance. He stood before her, analyzing every movement. "You made the same mistake." Again. She tried again, determined not to let her new coach down. As the dust of training settled in the air, he placed a hand on his forehead, trying to gather his thoughts. Bit by bit, he had broken down the Monkey King style into smaller, manageable techniques. Now, it was just a matter of letting her practice one move at a time. That's how he had learned it. But Zenon wasn't quite there yet. Her body betrayed her control, and she collapsed to the floor with a frustrated yell. Meanwhile, the main character wrapped his fist with flowing energy. "There's something about this beastman fist," he mused. Days of relentless practice had started to yield results, and he could feel his grasp over it strengthening. Just then, Kyo Chang's voice broke the moment. "Jiang Ping, she's back." He turned quickly. "This is Sister Chong. She still needs more training." "I'll go check on her," he said calmly. Zone pressed her hands against her bruises and nodded in agreement. Later, Chang leaned on the counter, frustration etched across her face. "I almost lost my cool this time," she muttered. I don't know what's going on, but the animals, they are disappearing. I had to go deeper into the northern forest. Her gaze shifted to Jiang Ping, who had moved behind the counter. We ran into wolves. All of them. Storm wolves, she revealed. Storm wolves, he echoed, alarmed. Is she okay? She is, Chang confirmed, pulling an item from her bag. We dug into the ground and stayed hidden. The wolves gave up and attacked the nearby savages instead. I used the chaos to grab this. She held it out toward him. A system window blinked into view in front of him. Wine gemstone, quality. Rare, a rare crystal formed from the essence of a living creature. It stores wind elemental energy, which can be released using spiritual force to form wind blades, summon storms, and more. Take it, she urged. The fake ones won't cut it. He examined the gem. Is this really a wind gem? He asked. She smiled knowingly. You know what you are doing. Even a kid can conjure a storm with this. Suddenly, a barrage of whispers filled his head. Good brother, it's daytime, bad time to film. Take your hands off him, sword fan first style. Sword QI follows. He died on the 12th day. You damned humans. He shook his head in disbelief. What are these voices? Then the property panel popped up. Beast name, Jiang Ping owner, Jiang Ping race, human camp, forge of the spirit of iron hike. 4-star strength, 18 vertical bar mental strength, infinite vertical bar dexterity, 21 rank, beginner vertical bar awaken level, 4 contract gem effect, 4th level bonus, awaken talent, wind whisper, allows the user to randomly hear loud emotional thoughts within a 10-meter radius, with some control. Just like the fire eater, he thought. The gem delayed, and now this. More whispers emerged. There's someone else in the shop, Sky Foxes. Let's eat him today. This guy stays. Wang Zhen too. His heart pounded. Are we being followed? At that moment, Lu Shishan stepped out of the shower, toweling her wet hair. She spotted the glowing token and frowned. Jiang Ping is in danger. Clutching the token, he fortified himself with energy. Why haven't they come yet? Maybe the foxes are just waiting. They're running out of patience? Chong noticed his worry. Are you okay? Mid-level Sky Foxes, he thought grimly. Even with Sister Chong, we can't win. Why don't you go upstairs and spend time with Uncle Lu, he suggested. I'll cook something. You haven't had my food in ages. She smiled and leaned on his shoulder. Okay, but don't take too long. He nodded, waving goodbye. But in his mind, the decision had already been made. We are leaving, before this drags in Chong or Uncle Lu. Meanwhile, in the blacksmith shop's backyard, Zenon was mid-practice when Jiang Ping found her. Am I doing it right? She asked. He gently took her hand. Quite. Come with me. Startled, she asked what was going on, but before he could answer, 2 figures emerged. Foxes. Where are you two going? One asked, voice low and airy. Damn, he thought. Zenon, equally shocked, gasped. Dad? Mom? What are they doing here? It's okay, she whispered. It's them. System windows materialized before the foxes. Beast, aloof Sky Fox, race, aloof fox growth potential, 1-star class, medium alienated beast, level 15 talent, perceptual impairment, alters a creature's cognitive senses to hide anomalies. The second fox, standing next to the first, was stronger, level 16. Zenon's father asked, Min, who is this boy? He's my friend, from martial school, she replied timidly. But before she could say more, black matter formed around them. The dark space began to pull them in. Dark space. The hero realized. Zenon screamed in confusion. The foxes surged forward. Jiang Ping shielded her with his body. Don't move, he ordered. Dad? Mom? She whimpered. Leave them, he said, clinging to her tightly. Just hold on to me. A claw shot toward them, and Ping clenched his jaw. They're coming. A powerful slash struck his back. He cried out, Jiang Ping. Zenon screamed in terror. They vanished, sucked into the dark space. In the void, she lifted herself and crawled toward him. Are you okay? I'm fine, he grunted, getting on one knee. The 2 foxes reappeared, and Zenon shouted, Dad, why? Stay back. Jiang Ping warned her. They aren't who you think, they're alienated beasts. Oh? So he figured it out, one fox said coldly. The second fox lunged, claws flashing. That's why we can't let him live. The hero blocked the strike with his dagger. So fast. I can't dodge. Is it the difference in class? As the Sky Fox drew closer to Zenon, it sneered. Min, just when everything seemed to spiral out of control, Ping braced himself as he faced the foxes, dark creatures hiding behind illusions. But this time, he wasn't alone. Shishan stepped forward with icy resolve. As she extended her hand, a surge of frost burst forth, sharp icicles shooting through the enemies. Her weapon, born of ice, struck with deadly precision. Xenon, in the midst of chaos, cried out in pain, her eyes on the figures she once called her parents. But Ping whispered a bitter truth: they weren't her parents. Just cunning foxes wearing familiar faces. Horrified, she clung to him, unwilling to believe the reality. Why didn't the foxes reveal their true forms? Shishan suggested a terrifying possibility: the presence of a royal sky fox in the city, one powerful enough to enhance illusion magic even for low-level beasts. Ping confirmed this with a brutal gesture, tearing off the skin of one of the foxes to reveal its true face beneath. The illusion shattered. Meanwhile, deep within the city, a different conversation was unfolding. The foxes were growing restless. 9 of their own had died recently. Whispers among them turned dark: why not just kill everyone and take over? But Shu silenced them. It would be wasteful. Instead, they would flush out the ones hiding in shadows, one by one. Zhuangxing suggested a new plan: lure other races into Pearl City to cause chaos, then eliminate humanity's strongest fighters. The fox within Shu's body questioned whether their enemies were still within the city. But the truth was chilling. The injured lord, once wounded by the king, had never left. He was hiding, waiting, planning. The foxes agreed. Even if the king still slept, they would proceed. And if he dared cross the line again, Shu vowed to kill him herself. Zhuangxing, overwhelmed by loyalty, declared his devotion to Pearl City, even if the city had become unstable under weak leadership. Back in the aftermath of battle, Xenon reached out to the bloodied ground. Her trembling voice whispered for her parents, regret flooding her heart. Shishan asked gently, what could she have done differently? Ping stepped in, telling her it wasn't her fault. He too had lost someone, a woman dear to him, slain by a sky fox from the patrol unit. He had wondered for so long, what if he'd stopped her from going out that day? But even if he could turn back time, he knew he couldn't change destiny. That woman had chased her dream, and now Xenon must chase hers. She still had a future to shape. Moved, Xenon thanked him, her voice barely steady. Shishan spoke up about the foxes in the city, but Ping cut in with determination: he would destroy every last one. But then, blood poured from his mouth. Xenon screamed his name as he collapsed. His vision faded. Time passed. Eventually, he awoke in bed. The first thing he saw, Xenon's relieved smile. He tried to sit up, but Shishan warned him. The wound wasn't fully healed. Xenon took his hand and promised she would grow stronger. She would fight beside him to defeat the sky foxes. Ping smiled, believing her. Shishan suggested that since Xenon's home was no longer safe, she should stay with them. Here, she'd be protected. Suddenly, voices echoed in Ping's head. He recognized one: Lu Shu. Something was going on with the foxes. He turned to Zishan and mentioned it. Her response was grim. Duangxing, a once trusted figure, had declared himself a subordinate to the foxes. If true, he had defected. And the illusion magic? Only the Sky Fox King could have empowered it to such a degree. This was their chance to counterattack. They needed Ping's help to find and expose the Sky Foxes. He agreed, no hesitation. Meanwhile, at the fox's hideout, Lu Taing exhaled smoke, complaining of hunger. XANG assured him Ping would return with supplies soon. Elsewhere, a new scene unfolded. Manny raised her hand, unlocking a secret chamber. Suya asked if she wanted coffee, but Manny declined. Suke activated the room's magic, causing light to burst from the floor. Dark matter swirled from the glyphs. The blackout is over, Manny declared. Light and shadow, welcome, chimed Chimmy. A powerful spell activated, enveloping the city in a radiant dome of protection. Ping realized something important: the cleanup team was ready. The most mysterious force in Pearl City, sworn to protect it during times of great peril, was now moving into action. The sweep team, often deployed for covert missions, operates under the support of a specialized unit known as the Border Team. According to CA, the Border Team is composed of 3 core members. Their leader, Manny, wields a formidable power known as the Black Curtain. She's the one responsible for the creation of the dark space, a mysterious realm our protagonist has visited multiple times. Then there's Sue, whose ability is enriching sunlight. By absorbing sunlight, she grants her allies renewed energy, acting almost like a living treasure trove of stamina. The third member, Shin Lovei, controls both light and shadow. With this power, she can render herself invisible by manipulating the light and shadows around her. Together, this trio can unleash the illuminated curtain, a technique that effortlessly drags any creature below royal level into their inner realm. They can even reshape the scenery within to disorient their enemies, making this their most potent weapon. Since the Sky Foxes can manipulate perception to deadly effect, the Border Team uses this very tactic against them. As they strolled through a crowded street, Ming asked, "Why not just grab a few and head home?" But Ming replied cautiously, "The city isn't safe. It's better to stay alert." Ming laughed, asking if she was getting scared. But she paused, her eyes lifting toward the sky. Doesn't it feel off to you? He shrugged, unconvinced. You just being paranoid. Suddenly, he stopped and looked ahead. Wait, where is everyone? At that moment, Ganbwa gathered energy into his fist and hurled it straight at a sky fox. The impact sent dust flying and a blinding pillar of light rocketing into the sky. Shame I couldn't take them all out in one blow, he muttered. Minji cursed under his breath. Was it him? The one who tried to kill us in Pearl City? He rushed forward, demanding answers. You think we'll let this slide? You're not scared we'll call reinforcements? Ganbwa's fist sparked with raw power. Why not call them, then? He taunted. Jean Ping said they're around level 25, I should be able to handle this. As Minji lunged forward, he shouted, Maned. Man! Jean Bu blocked the strike with one hand, his eyes narrowing at the glowing mark on his chest. Min tackled him, claiming it was just for food. Bo glanced at his arm where another mark shimmered. Huh? He blocked again, and Minji followed. Up with several punches. So? How is it? She asked. You don't even know how they kill their own. Bo slammed a fist into Minji's face. Then let's find out. AR screamed. Minnie. Minnie raised her arm to strike. I'll end you. Bo grabbed her wrist. I can't see you, but I know your form. You're sneaky, sure, but not great face to face. With a twist, he sent her screaming. Minji launched at Bo again, but Bo turned calmly. Hi. Then he hurled AR at Minnie and yelled, let go. He kicked Minnie into the air. One more time. Bodies hit the pavement. The ground cracked beneath the impact. One surviving fox whispered, why, can't I feel it? Bo swung again. One more time. I hate you, the fox shrieked. The entire block lit up with Bo's aura. Get out. Watching from a nearby rooftop, Pin muttered, incredible. Beside her, Shishan nodded. No surprise. Hang Jin is the leader of their battle group. The main character folded his arms, studying Bo's figure. He reminds me of a game hero. What is it? Shishan asked. Ping responded, Blue Shirshan. That's your boo. Meanwhile, alienated beasts were beginning to rebel just outside Pearl City. If they crossed into the city, it would strain the lighted canopy. We need to check the suburbs, Shishan said. Scout the situation. Pin hesitated. What about Jean Ping? Bring him. Good chance to test his martial skills. Ping agreed. I've logged all the Sky Fox data. I'll assign it to the battle group. Got it, Shishan said. Let's move, Ping. He followed her, asking if someone would guard the forge. Of course, she replied. A big shot, no less. Our leader. You'll meet him once the mission's done. Outside the city, Ping looked around in awe. First time out here, he spotted a strange plant. What is that? Don't go near it, Shishan warned. But it was too late, the plant burst, scattering particles. That's hydrochloric acid grass, she said. Full of hydrogen peroxide. Dangerous. Fruit explodes on maturity, like fireworks. Stay sharp. She pointed ahead. Your first opponent awaits. I'll scout the rebellion. Don't wander. Ping focused. A system window opened in front of him. Alienated beast, water rabbit, bullet class, potential, 3 stars, class, beginner level N talent, water erosion bullet, fires corrosive water from ear sweat glands. He unsheathed a fire-coated dagger. It looks harmless, but stronger than that poison-tail rat. He hurled the dagger. Preemptive strike. The rabbit dodged, retaliating with an acid blast. Ping blocked it with his hand. That won't work. The rabbit leapt away, launching acid again. Drops burned into the ground around him. Ping analyzed fast, sharp reflexes ranged attacks immune to acid cunning, spreads acid to keep him away and it's baiting him toward explosive fruit. He spun the dagger in his palm, ready for the next move. He muttered to himself, it wasn't easy handling this creature. A thought struck him, why hadn't the acid worked on him? Glancing at his hands, he remembered deflecting the corrosive fluid using the rabbit's own attack. He cloaked his hand in fire and questioned, could it be because of the flames? The rabbit, now furious, hurled acidic blasts again, yelling, Munia. Drink my soup. But the main character deflected the attack with a fiery swing of his arm. Of course, he realized, the acid evaporates in the presence of fire. No wonder Cece was so calm about sending me to fight something like this. The rabbit contorted its face into something monstrous and snarled, nah, wasting my acid soup. Charging in, it screamed, why won't you drink it? Ping crossed his arms over his chest, a strange feeling washing over him. It feels familiar, he whispered, eyes narrowing. Could this little monster have a second stage? With swift, practiced movements, he drew his dagger, deflecting the rabbit's incoming claws. Each strike sizzled, his opponent's claws had a corrosive edge. A sharp pain on his shoulder told him he'd been hit. Blood dripped down. He knows ranged attacks won't work on me. So now he wants a direct fight. Without hesitation, Ping activated Fire Eater, Flame Entanglement. Flames burst around him. If you don't want me to eat it, I'll just wrap myself in fire, he growled. He checked the status, Fire Eater Flame Reserve, 43 of 100. I have to move fast. Burn him out. Charging, he shouted, you're not the only one who can set traps, rabbit. In one fluid motion, he stabbed with his fire-infused dagger. Nowhere left to run. Die. The rabbit, trapped in a burning ring, stared in terror. Flame Reserve, 3 of 100. Flame Supply, 0/100. Ping pressed forward, yelling, dodge that. Flames surged once again as he reactivated Fire Eater, absorbing the ambient fire. The supply meter began to climb. He hurled fire into the air, yelling, let's see you dodge this. The fireball struck, engulfing the rabbit. It collapsed, smoldering, catching his breath. Ping muttered, still alive. No value increase. That means I've got to finish the job. Running to the creature, he landed blow after blow with his dagger. Finally, a system window appeared, all values increased by +2. Current stats, physical strength, 20, mental power, infinity, strength, 19, dexterity, 23. Human average, 10, decent for a level 9 monster, he noted. Each kill boosts stats, not levels. That's the difference, leveling up is slow, but stats grow with training and combat. Another system message popped up, when total flames consumed equals 1000, Fire Eater, beginner, Fire Eater, medium. Capacity increases to 300. He smiled. Did Fire Eater just get an upgrade? Oh my god, his words froze mid-sentence. A horde of rabbits loomed ahead. Dozens, maybe hundreds, glaring with red eyes. This is bad. Flame supply, 2 out of 100. I used it all up in that last strike. The mob of rabbits surged forward. Way too many, he thought, but maybe. I can activate the Jade token. Grabbing the token, he ran in the opposite direction. Gotta get out of here fast. He cloaked the token in fire. Sis, help me. But when he turned around, rabbits. In front, rabbits. Everywhere. Can't even surround them, he crouched, shielding his head as acid shells flew toward him. I've got to brace for the first hit. Suddenly, a shimmering ice wall rose before him, absorbing the assault. He blinked. This, water element? His eyes landed on her. It's her. The girl stepped forward, water rippling from her outstretched hand. Move, she ordered. As the rabbits charged, she released a torrent of water, sweeping them up, then froze them solid with a flick of her finger. Cool, Ping thought, watching her effortlessly take down what he had struggled with. Shishan looked around. I wasn't gone that long, how are there this many? Ping just shrugged. No idea, she eyed the frozen rabbits. They just keep coming. Holding out her hand, she formed a blade of ice. More will follow. The next wave of rabbits charged, attacking the frozen ones. Shishan squinted. They're not attacking? Could that be the leader? But the leader should have been dead. She crouched, feeling something off. They being drawn to something. Without hesitation, she lunged forward, fist swinging, cutting through the beasts. Then I'll take the risk. As wounded rabbits flew back, she slashed forward with her sword. Last one. Placing her hand on the ice, she whispered, release. The block shattered, scattering across the battlefield. Then she found it. Raising a glowing orb, she declared, there was a soul-attracting pill in here. Ping stared in disbelief. Soul-attracting pill? What even is that? It smells kinda good, Shishan explained. It's a tool used by an organization to control alienated beasts, specifically made by the Serpentine division of the zoo family. So she did show up after all, she continued. This pill emits a unique fragrance only beginner to intermediate level aloof beasts can sense. It lures them in, and once consumed, it robs them of reason. They go mad, eventually becoming domesticated tools. But, she warned, no one knows how the zoo family actually controls them. Because once consumed, these things don't get digested, and if not contained, the tension in the air grew heavier. She clenched the crystal sphere tightly in her hand until it crumbled into dust. Letting the remnants scatter into the wind, she muttered, this revolt of the alienated beasts. It must be linked to the soul attraction pill. Determined, she vowed to report everything to headquarters. Whether or not the Jew family was behind it all would remain uncertain, until the investigation concluded. For now, Ping was to remain honest and continue training outside the city. With a firm salute, he responded, yes, ma'am. A small smile played at her lips. His spirit was unwavering. But from behind a large tree nearby, hidden in shadows beneath a black robe, a mysterious creature observed them. Ping's expression suddenly changed to one of shock as Shishan, sensing something, sliced the tree in half with a single clean motion. What just happened? Ping asked, startled. She stared at the fallen trunk. Nothing, she replied, though doubt flickered in her eyes. Was her intuition deceiving her? A week passed. In a quiet corner of the land, the foxes began to gather. One of them, addressing you as Your Majesty, mentioned that the fox clans near Tinker Street used to convene here. As the wind howled outside and strange whispers echoed through the trees, she stood up, a grim expression on her face. The revolt of the aloof beasts was becoming more frequent. Could this be Hang Xing's doing? No. She couldn't rely on just one person. It was time for her to act as well. Energy swirled around her as she channeled her magical aura. They already know, she said sharply. Word had spread, people had begun resisting psychic manipulation, and it came at a great cost. Many of her comrades had died on Tinker Street. Those who remained were next. We'll make a scene, she declared. Let the enemy believe we've uncovered something. Make them act first. The foxes nodded in agreement. They understood her plan. Deep in the forest, rabbits grazed peacefully in a clearing, until chaos erupted. The main character leapt forward, plunging his dagger into one of the beasts and setting its body ablaze. System alert, the Night Walker has been stopped. Rabbits scattered in a panic as Ping stood ready. After a week of exterminating them, he'd reached level 6. He had learned their movements, their weaknesses. Now they attacked with fury, spitting green acid. He countered with flames, noting their tactics. When enraged, they coated themselves in acid for close combat. Flammable, yes. Lethal? Not quite. He experimented, burning one, stabbing another. Then, pulling out the red snake scales he'd saved, he hurled them into the fire. The flames roared. Endless fire. The rabbit shrieked as the scales ignited it completely. Fire Eater, he named the technique. Suddenly, an inferno engulfed the forest floor. A massive funnel of flames devoured the rabbits. As they turned to ash, Ping stepped from the blaze, victorious. He had finally used up his collection of scales. System notification, level up, level 7. All stats +1. His contract gem responded too, leveling up to 5, triggering a new effect. He noticed it, the gem's level seemed to synchronize with his own. Last time, it had stayed behind. Now, it gleamed blue. But nearby, a rabbit's corpse pulsed with dark energy. Ping eyed it suspiciously. What kind of ability will awaken this time, he wondered aloud, thinking of consuming the gem inside. Could it be a new battle talent? Suddenly, the rabbit sprang to life. Its eyes glowed with violet hate, and dark energy poured from its body. Ping snapped into action, activating Fire Eater again. Flames burst from his hands. I'm not who I was before, he said, readying himself. The rabbit lunged. He dodged and countered, but the rabbit moved like a ghost. His dagger sliced air. What the hell, he muttered. Did I create a ghost by killing too many? With a sharp flick of his wrist, he slashed again. This time, his strike connected. The rabbit fell, its dark energy vanishing. Approaching the corpse, Ping squinted. What was that power? He asked aloud. Was it controlled by the soul attraction pill too? He cut open the rabbit's body. Inside, he found a glowing purple object. There is something here, but it's not the pill, he said, frowning. The mystery deepened once again. As the tension thickened, Pin examined the strange object in his hand. A system window appeared, but it couldn't identify it. He frowned. It had been a while since he encountered something so strange. Moments later, another system notification popped up, this time successful. Dark mist essence, quality, unknown. It was the essence of power stored in the ovaries of a black goat. The system warned that consuming it might lead to unpredictable consequences. Pin couldn't help but wonder, was this the black goat's treasure? Once again, the system tried to analyze it. Failed. Then, success. Dark mist essence appeared again in the window, along with the same warning. Intrigued, Pin lit a small fire beside him, eyes fixed on the strange item. Suddenly, a majestic goat appeared in front of him, cloaked in dark purple energy. Surrounding it were other beasts. The goat charged toward them, and they did the same. A chaotic clash erupted. The scene shifted. The goat moved westward. A crow landed. A pig approached. The goat released a wave of dark energy and vanished, only to appear behind the pig and bite into its side. The pig squealed in agony as dark energy infiltrated its body, radiating out of every pore. Pin stared at the scene. Had everything just gone to hell? He felt it. This item was like a rare wind gem, a rare and dangerous one. He considered its effects, but this time, touching it did nothing. Would he have to swallow it? But it came from a black goat, Pin muttered, hesitant. He recalled Sue, her last words, her trembling voice, and the blood-streaked tears on her smiling face. She had made him promise, no matter what, he must live. With a trembling hand, Pin swallowed the dark essence. Pain struck instantly. His eyes flew open. He clutched his head and dropped to the ground, writhing in agony. His mind drifted back to the memory of Sue, a puppet in the fox's game. She reached for him, calling his name through bloodied tears, begging him to survive. Through gritted teeth, Pin screamed, "Don't worry, Sue, I'm not dying, not until I've destroyed all those foxes." System alert, identification complete, rank, beginner awakened level, equal to the 7th growth potential, physical strength, 26 mental power, dexterity, 29 talents, 5th level contract gem trigger. Bonus effects, activated another window opened, Stygian mist body, beginner tier. A combat type ability that absorbs fear from living creatures and transforms it into controllable fog. The current mist supply was 20 by 100. For every point of mist gathered, Pin could form a physical Stygian mist, enhancing his attack and defense by 10%, up to 1,000%. Sweating and trembling, Pin smiled faintly. This power, it's not just a blessing, it's a curse. He laughed through his tears. His body surged with emotion, fear, joy, sorrow, and rage. Then, he sensed it, 5 men approaching. They hesitated. One stepped forward, asking if he was okay. Another whispered that they should just move on. Best not to interfere. Yet another agreed, they should head for the city, as long as no animals were around. But as they turned to leave, Pin's body levitated. Dark energy surged from him. He hovered in the air, and the men froze, terrified. He turned slowly, face unreadable. The crowd panicked, tossing whatever they held and screaming, "It's a ghost! A ghost!" Pin didn't mean to scare them. He just whispered, "It's fine. I'm fine." System update, fog supply, 23 by 100. 30 by 100. 35 by 100. He raised his hand, where blue energy shimmered like flame. "So, this fog absorbs fear and converts it into power," he murmured. It wasn't like any energy he'd known. It wasn't energy, it was something more, something alive. With a thought, he imagined his hand turning into a monster's claw. The fog obeyed, his hand transformed instantly. After crafting the mysterious dark weapon, Ping looked at it curiously and wondered just how powerful it could be. Holding the weapon in his hand, he approached a tree nearby. Determined to test it gently first, he swung lightly, and to his shock, the tree was sliced cleanly in one smooth motion, starting to fall with a heavy creak. Startled by its power, Ping shouted, "It's this strong just by using one Stygian mist reserve point." Excited, he slashed at the falling tree a few more times. His movements grew faster, more confident, and now square-shaped pieces of wood rained down around him. Watching the display, Ping smiled and decided to test something else. He looked up and activated 10 points of his fog reserve, creating a shield to block the falling debris. Ping realized this fog wasn't just for cutting, it could also defend. Properly used, this ability could become his trump card against high-level alienated beasts. Just as he was deep in thought about his next steps to evolve and become stronger, a familiar voice called out his name from behind. Cease came running towards him, weapon drawn and ready for battle. "Did you meet an M-beast?" "Where is it?" she demanded, scanning the area anxiously. Ping felt a rush of warmth at the familiar sight. It reminded him of Sister Cham from their childhood. Before he could explain, Cease noticed something off and screamed, "What did you eat?" Was that the dark mist essence? Marching up to him, she scolded sharply, "Are you trying to die? How could you eat something of unknown origin? You could have been killed." Scratching his head awkwardly, Ping explained he had verified it through his identification ability. But Cease, arms crossed and face stern, was having none of it. "If anything had gone wrong, how would you have spat it out?" "Hey," she snapped, clicking her tongue in frustration. She warned him gravely that misty aloof beasts were creatures with no permanent form, often hiding inside other organisms. She explained that creatures like the black goat and bullet rabbit he mentioned were likely hosts to such beasts. Once a host dies, the misty aloof beast moves into one of its organs, lying in wait for the next victim. Hearing this, Ping paled. The intense pain he had felt after eating the mist essence. Was it the parasite trying to control his body? Was he infected? He asked Cease, "If I am still fine, does that mean the parasite failed?" Cease shrugged. "Who knows? Maybe you re-special. Maybe the monster that destroyed the misty aloof beast is inside you now. Or maybe you just too stubborn to be controlled," she said with a wicked smile. "But if anything happens, don't blame me if I have to stab you." Raising her weapon threateningly, she started walking towards him. Ping panicked and stammered that he must have made a mistake. At that moment, a spider descended between them. Cease caught sight of it, and screamed. Without thinking, she summoned her weapon and flailed around wildly. "Such a huge spider," she shrieked, panic in her eyes. The poor spider, terrified, tried to escape. Watching this scene, Ping couldn't help but be surprised. A girl as fierce as Cease was still afraid of spiders. Clinging to him tightly, she cried, "Get it away! Hurry!" Ping smiled, patting her head gently, a wave of nostalgia washing over him. She was still the same girl from the orphanage. He remembered a time when he had run towards her, proudly showing off a beetle he had caught. Cease had been sitting under a tree, engrossed in a book. When Ping thrust the beetle in her face, she squeaked and scrambled to push him away. The beetle flew off, and Ping had been heartbroken, saying it was his new friend. Cease had simply patted his head and called him a silly boy, reminding him there were plenty of children in the shelter he could befriend instead of bugs. Ping had said then that the other children would one day leave. "What will I do then?" he had asked. Cease had hugged him tightly and promised, "No matter what happens, I'll always be your friend." Back in the present, Ping held her again for a moment, feeling that old promise alive between them. But Cease quickly grew embarrassed, shoving him away and freezing him with a glare. "Why are you hugging me so tightly, idiot?" she barked, cheeks flushing. Ping released himself and sighed. Cease turned away thoughtfully, warning him, "In the wild, anything of unknown origin is dangerous. Free cheese only exists in a mousetrap. You got lucky this time, but you won't always be so fortunate." She smiled, smoothing her hair, and told him to remember her words. Ping agreed sincerely. Watching her, he realized that despite everything, Cease hadn't really changed. She still cared, she just didn't want to show it openly. Suddenly, her amulet beeped and lit up. Alarmed, Cease grabbed it and shouted, "What's going on?" Realizing something, she quickly informed Ping that her investigation and his training were officially over. They had to return to Pearl City immediately. Ping asked what happened. As they moved toward the city, Cease explained, "Group Leader B has been seriously injured by a fox beast. We need to return quickly to support them." Following her, Ping asked why they didn't just call another city's investigation team for help. Cease shook her head. It would attract too much attention. And besides, the world outside the city walls is complicated. I'll explain on the way. As they traveled, Cease revealed more about the harsh reality outside Pearl City. Nobody really remembered when it began, but alienated beasts had once run rampant across the lands, forcing humanity to wall themselves inside fortified cities. With traffic between cities blocked, only brave investigation teams and civil society activists dared to venture out, slowly mapping the outside world. According to the investigation reports, there were still savage villages and settlements hidden near Pearl City, surviving where the alien beasts were less frequent. After crossing the vast desert, they finally caught sight of the sea far off in the distance. However, due to the high-level alien beasts inhabiting those waters, they chose not to venture any further. She wasn't sure if there were other cities beyond the sea, or what mysteries lay on the other side. As they approached the city, the main character turned to the man accompanying them and asked about the current situation. The man explained that Pearl City was currently being monitored through a lighted canopy. Until just last night, there had been no unusual activity detected among the sky foxes. However, beginner and intermediate level foxes from Tinker Street had suddenly surfaced. The guards had engaged them, not realizing it was an ambush. The enemy's leader himself had appeared during the battle. Team leader Bo had suffered severe injuries while covering their retreat. Now, the captain had assigned them the task of guarding Pearl City in Bo's absence. Pin quietly followed them around the city, eating with them as CECE spoke to him, saying she understood the situation. The main character offered his help, but CECE declined, explaining they didn't need assistance yet. She asked him to return to the Iron Spirit and promised to find him when necessary. Obediently, the boy nodded and watched them leave, silently praying that Bo and CECE would stay safe. Stretching his arms, Ping allowed himself a brief moment of relaxation. After all, the harsh desert journey had worn him down. As he wandered through the city streets, a man standing at a food counter caught his attention. Ping absent-mindedly wondered how Jamin was progressing with the hunter's fist. But something felt strange. Suddenly, it struck him, the people around him weren't moving. Turning back to the food stall, he saw the entire scene frozen. A man addressed him, causing Ping's heart to skip a beat. The man stared at him and barked, "Who is he?" Panicking slightly, Ping activated the identification system. System windows floated before him, failed to identify, not once, but multiple times. He tried again, and again, but still, he failed, 66 times. The man in the jacket spoke, noting that even intermediate-level awakened ones could only use identification a handful of times per day, but Ping could use it endlessly. Surprised, Ping realized that because his body performed identification naturally, he had no limit, but how did this stranger know that? Nervously, Ping asked what the man wanted. Although the man appeared calm, an unsettling pressure rolled off him, making Ping's skin crawl. The man asked if Ping was just playing around. Ping dropped into a fighting stance, dagger at the ready, uncertain whether to engage. He reassured himself he didn't see this man as an enemy. When the man asked if he needed a reason to become stronger, or if his desire for revenge for Su was just empty words, Ping gritted his teeth. Rather than flee, he lunged forward, his dagger ablaze with flame, targeting the man's head. But before he could strike, it was like his blade shattered glass, the man vanished. Was it a time rift? Ping wondered. Preparing both dagger and fire magic, he braced for an attack. Suddenly, the man appeared behind him. Ping launched a fiery punch, but the man easily caught his fist, commenting that he needed to improve his speed. Confused, Ping tried another tactic. He activated Flame Eater, wrapping the man in roaring flames. Yet something felt wrong. The figure before him turned translucent, revealing that it had only been a doppelganger. Without warning, a water arrow shot towards him. Ping barely managed to dodge. More water arrows followed, a relentless barrage. Dodging frantically, Ping thought, what the hell? How many abilities does he have? He's a monster. A system window appeared, Stygia and Mist Supply 800/100. Dark energy surged into Ping's hand. He conjured a shield and prepared a counterattack. As he sprinted toward the man, Ping launched a devastating dark energy strike, using 13 points of his energy reserves. The man dodged effortlessly. Ping immediately activated his Night Walker ability, trying to close the gap, but the man calmly noted that while smart, Ping's move was still ineffective. Suddenly, the entire area was bathed in blinding light. Ping shielded his eyes but stumbled, crashing onto the pavement. The man remarked that such power was rare. Ping tried to move but found himself completely paralyzed. Mind reading? He wondered in horror. The man casually asked if he was talking to himself, confirming that he could hear Ping's thoughts. Ping realized the vast power difference. This man was even stronger than B and CECE. Moments later, Ping was kneeling respectfully before a table where the man now sat. The man smiled and said that Ping could call him whatever he liked. He himself didn't even remember his own name. Ping suspected that the sweep team had already discovered everything about him. But why had this man chosen to meet him so directly? Addressing Ping by his first name, the man advised him not to overthink it until Ping could resist mind-reading. There was no point in asking too many questions. Then, with a slight smile, he added, in Pearl City, for 200 years, there hasn't been another limitless ability holder after you. Why don't you come and see for yourself? Ping shouted, unable to believe what he had just heard. Does he mean to say he has limitless abilities? He thought, stunned. But isn't the highest human rank and talent supposed to have a limit? The man calmly explained. Even among awakened individuals with the strongest talents, they could only gain one ability in their lifetime. But limitless talent was different. It removed the limit entirely, allowing the bearer to continuously awaken new abilities without end. Suu narrowed his eyes and asked sharply, I'm only interested in one thing. Can your limitless talent, the Way of Man, copy my contract gem? The man smiled but didn't rush. He agreed to let Ping try, on one condition, regardless of the outcome. Ping must be grateful and answer all his questions honestly. The main character hesitated and asked if he had the right to refuse. In response, the man opened a small box, revealing a glittering bracelet inside. You can refuse, he said, but first, take a look at what I'm offering. The bracelet shimmered under the light. This is the Golden Vault, the man continued. It was my primary equipment during my early years. It holds the storage skill. You should understand the value of this. Ping's eyes lit up with excitement. It was exactly what he needed. Eagerly, he reached for the bracelet. But before he could touch it, Suu raised a hand glowing with magic. Give me your hand, he said sternly. Without hesitation, Ping extended his arm. Silent energy spread from Suu's hand, enveloping Ping's arm. After a moment, Suu closed his eyes, exhaled slowly, and let go. What was that? Ping asked, confused. Suu answered, it's clear now. I can't reproduce your abilities, even your random talents. I can't copy them. You'd re-special. Closing the box, he pushed it towards Ping. It's yours now, he said. Ping picked up the bracelet, still unsure. Suddenly, a system window flashed before him, successful identification, playback initiated. A vision appeared. In it, a girl was bound by strange ropes. Figures in raincoats poured a yellow liquid over her, making her scream in pain. Horror filled Ping's heart. Is this how special equipment is made? Through human lives, he thought grimly, staring at the bracelet. Turning to Suu, he asked, was creating all special equipment really this cruel? Suu nodded somberly. That was 200 years ago. It's forbidden now, but there are still vile people who make human sacrifices. I wanted to destroy the bracelet, but if used properly, it can bring peace to the dead. Curious, Ping asked, what was Pearl City like 200 years ago? Suu placed his mug heavily on the table and spoke in a grave tone. It was a nightmare. The Shu family ruled everything. The people were no more than slaves, with no future and no hope. Men toiled day and night for scraps. Women became the playthings of the Shu family. Children were brainwashed into blind loyalty. And the elderly. They were fed to alien beasts. Ping listened silently, pouring more tea into Suu's mug. In those days, Suu continued, if someone awakened, they were either enslaved or used as materials for crafting equipment. Eventually, a few brave souls gathered their strength and overthrew the Shu family. After a pause, Ping asked, if you're so strong, why don't you fight the Moon Prince and liberate the city again? A system window popped up, talent launch, encrypted communication. Suu leaned forward. It's not that I don't want to. I simply can't. Pearl City's defense system is far stronger than it appears. He explained, there's an investigation team that hunts alien beasts near the gates. A mopping up group secretly removes hidden threats within the city. And most importantly, there's a royal artifact, the Sun and Moon Pearl. Up close, it downgrades all creatures to level 40 or lower, even royal beasts. But, Suu said grimly, after the city lord disappeared, only the remnants of the Shu family knew how to operate the artifact. Ping stood up sharply, realizing the truth. Did the Shu clan deactivate the Sun and Moon Pearl? Did they allow the Sky Fox invasion? Suu nodded. Even after we overthrew the Shu clan, their remnants survived like weeds, hidden deep in Pearl City. Ping clenched his fists. They're responsible for the alien beast riots too. Why haven't you wiped them out? Suu sighed heavily. We tried. But the Shu family's roots run deep. Hundreds of years of history. They've almost fused with the city itself. Looking at Suu, Ping realized that countless mysteries remained. What was the purpose of the Shu family? Was the city lord dead or alive? What was the Fox King's true goal? Without clear answers, Suu had to tread carefully. One wrong step, and Pearl City would be lost forever. Nuclear weapons were a last resort, to be used only when absolutely necessary. Even if the Moon Prince continued his provocations, Suu had to stay calm. Finally, Suu stood up, extending his hand. I can't copy your abilities, he said. But we need you. Would you like to join the sweep group? Without hesitation, Ping grasped his hand firmly. I agree. Meanwhile, in the blacksmith shop, the Spirit of Iron Forge, Zimun, watched curiously. Why are you repairing equipment again? She asked. Xiao Chang, hammering a blade with rhythmic force, smiled and answered, as long as I have time. I'll keep forging. The loud ringing of metal echoed through the shop, marking a new beginning. After a few days had passed, Zenon sat quietly, her thoughts adrift. She confessed that she had no idea when Ping would return. Sensing her absent-mindedness, her friend teased, asking if she missed him. Zenon, flustered, stammered that there was simply no one left to teach her kung fu anymore. A faint blush touched her cheeks as she admitted she worried about Ping. Was he safe out there? Chio Chong laughed and teased her even more, saying she looked just like a daughter-in-law waiting anxiously. Zenon covered her ears in embarrassment, trying in vain to deny it. Slumping deeper into her chair, she looked utterly dejected. Nearby, Chio Chong heated a red-hot knife and then cooled it in a water barrel. With a mischievous grin, she assured Zenon that she was only joking. In truth, she explained, the villages outside the city were already marked as dangerous zones due to alien beasts. As long as Ping avoided those places, he would be fine. Zenon asked curiously if there were really villages outside Pearl City. Chio Chong wiped the sweat from her brow and nodded, warning her that these villages were often backward and hostile. Some villagers even worshipped alien beasts as gods. If Zenon ever stumbled upon such a place, she was better off running, lest she become a slave or worse. But they're humans too, right? We can reason with them. Zenon asked hopefully. Chio Chong leaned closer, her tone grim. They're not like us. In the wild, the real danger isn't alien beasts. It's people. The weight of her words startled Zenon. Chio Chong continued, speaking low and mysterious, saying some of these savages wore terrifying masks and could appear without a sound. Just then, a dark blue energy formed behind her, twisting into a sinister shape. Zenon screamed, pointing behind Chio Chong. Turning slowly, Chio Chong saw it too, a ghostly face forming from the dark energy, reaching out toward them. The tension snapped when the ghost suddenly dropped its disguise, revealing Ping wearing a hideous mask. He shouted loudly, scaring both girls. Terrified, Zenon bolted. Chio Chong, without missing a beat, smacked Ping sharply in a sensitive spot, leaving him frozen in pain. Recovering with difficulty, Ping tried to play it off, pretending everything was fine, though sweat streamed down his face. Chio Chong stepped between him and Zenon protectively, demanding to know who he was. Wincing, Ping removed the mask and introduced himself with a sheepish grin. Chio Chong stormed up to him, ruffled his hair roughly, and scolded him for scaring them without warning. Why hadn't he told them he was coming back? Ping laughed and explained he overheard their conversation about savage villages and thought it would be funny to spook them a little. He didn't expect to get smacked in return. Chio Chong gave him a parting shove and left the room. Zenon, still red-faced, handed Ping a cloak and asked if he had completed his training. Ping replied that he planned to continue honing his skills in the city. Zenon then mentioned she had just found a clue about Shinan's whereabouts and would be leaving town soon. She asked Ping to look after Uncle Lu while she was gone. As she hurried off, she blurted awkwardly that someone was waiting for him every day and vanished into her room, her face burning with embarrassment. Ping, confused, stood there until Zenon stopped at the doorway, turned back, and said shyly that she was glad he returned safely. He waved back warmly, feeling for the first time that this strange world now felt a little like home. Just then, Uncle Lu appeared beside him, startling Ping. The old man asked why he was standing around grinning like an idiot. Ping jumped in surprise, but Lu just smacked him lightly with a smoking machine. Lu instructed Ping to visit his daughter in the morning and lie, saying that Lu was seriously ill and she couldn't leave the city. When Ping looked puzzled, Lu explained his real fear. Shinan had been missing for a long time, and he feared that something terrible had happened. Lu admitted he was pretending to be sick to keep his daughter from risking her life searching for Shinan. Ping, moved by his concern, promised to do his best. The old man smiled faintly and mentioned that although he wasn't a master smith himself, he could still teach Ping the true art of forging, a secret skill unique to the Lu clan. Ping, deeply honored, vowed to live up to his expectations. Later that night, while resting, Ping suddenly heard a familiar voice calling him. It was Jin Yao, her presence faint and ethereal. She told him not to lose hope, that she would wait for him. An enchanted leaf floated down in front of the smithy, and Ping realized that maybe, just maybe, Jin Yao was still alive. Meanwhile, Zenon achieved mastery over the first 3 Monkey King styles. That night, Ping reported to the city's cleanup crew, explaining that he heard a Sky Fox's disguised voice near the blacksmith shop. But the captain insisted the area was clear. Still, the thought lingered in Ping's mind, could Jin Yao truly still be alive? Driven by the hope of answers and revenge, he vowed he would one day tear the mask off and uncover the truth. 3 days later, under the cover of night, a masked man broke into a house. He quietly slipped into a young woman's room, Miss Su, and found her sleeping deeply under the effect of some drug. Leering, he ran his fingers over her body, boasting to himself about her beauty. But before he could do anything worse, the room filled with dark blue energy. A voice called him out by name, Sean, also known as Shorty Teddy. The energy mocked him for his history of assaulting women over the past decade. Sean froze in terror, trying to spot the speaker, but the darkness only grew thicker. San shouted in panic, "Who the hell is he?" From within the swirling dark energy, a silhouette of a man slowly emerged. His voice was cold as he declared that he had been ordered to take San's life. Hearing this, San was stunned speechless. Then, terror gripping his heart, he turned and sprinted toward the exit. In his mind, he cursed the Su family, thinking they must have been tricked or drugged. Was this creature even human, or something else? The dark energy chased after him effortlessly, firing a beam that struck San's calf. A sharp pain shot through him, and he collapsed onto the asphalt, unable to continue running. The dark silhouette loomed over him as a system window appeared before it. Fear increased the supply of Stygia and mist by 54-100. Fear increased the supply of Stygia and mist by 60-100. San clutched his leg, screaming in fear. The silhouette asked coldly, still struggling. San, overwhelmed with terror, shouted for it to stay away, but the figure advanced. Unable to endure the pressure, San fainted on the spot, wetting himself in fear. Ping, emerging from the dark energy, kicked the unconscious man. Watching him, Ping muttered, "I thought serial killers would be cooler. Guess not." With the first part of their mission complete, Ping dispelled his mask, revealing his true face. He spoke to himself, saying that this man needed to be handed over. A system window popped up, identification successful. Name, San race, human height, power rank, non-medium awakener. Level, 13. Talent, medicinal mastery, ability to analyze items for medicinal properties and compose medicines. Equipment, peach blossom mask, common. Ping sneered. Someone who awakens such a useful power, yet uses it for evil, truly a scoundrel. Then, another system prompt appeared, play back memories. Before Ping's eyes, San's past sins played out. A woman lay sobbing on the floor, begging him to spare her daughter. San stood menacingly over her, mocking her, blaming her dead husband, ridiculing their protector, and laughing at their helplessness. He grabbed the young girl, licked her face, and spoke cruelly about the horrors yet to come. One scene after another revealed the monstrous acts San had committed. Rage boiled inside Ping. Suddenly, San stirred, attempting to crawl away. Gathering his remaining strength, he lunged at Ping with a sinister grin. But a protective barrier formed around Ping. A heavy fog descended, lightning crackled overhead, and rain poured down. San screamed in frustration, "Who the hell are you?" Ping, his voice thunderous, roared, "Enough!" He crushed San's mask and shouted, "You deserve nothing but death." San trembled in fear. He tried to strike back, but his attacks failed miserably. Without hesitation, Ping summoned dark energy and severed San's arm. Lightning struck again as San howled in agony, clutching his wound. Gathering more dark energy, Ping declared coldly, "This is for the mother who fought to protect her child." Purple energy exploded from his body, forming countless magic daggers. He continued, "This is for the girl who refused to surrender her dignity." He unleashed a brutal barrage of strikes. Each dagger pierced San's body, making him scream in unbearable pain. "And this," Ping added, "is in memory of the brave patrolman who defended Pearl City, and for every innocent soul you defiled." Ping kept striking, his fists driven by righteous fury. San lay broken in a pool of his own blood, sobbing and cursing Ping as a madman. Standing over him, Ping spoke coldly, "Today's technology could save you. If you re-fast enough." He pointed toward the distant exit. "Crawl to the gate. Reach it, and you live." Lightning illuminated the bloody scene. San, barely conscious, looked at the gate. Blood streaming from his wounds, he crawled desperately, cursing and swearing revenge. Just a little further, he thought. "If I survive, I'll skin him alive. I'll own this world again." His blood smeared across the floor as he dragged himself closer to the door. His trembling hand reached out, struggling to grasp the handle. He pounded on the door, shouting curses into the night. Ping walked toward him silently. Watching San struggle, Ping murmured, "Pathetic." He gathered dark energy into his hand once more. "You were given a chance. And you failed." As San shouted in protest, lightning struck again. Without mercy, Ping struck the final blow. Dark energy exploded, and San's body convulsed violently, blood spraying across the asphalt. A system notification appeared, "Enemy defeated." Attributes increased, physical strength, 28 mental power, infinite power, 29 dexterity, 29 standing over San's lifeless body. Ping thought grimly, one less monster in Pearl City. One step closer to peace. The rain washed away the blood, yet the memory of what had happened lingered. Ping looked up at the sky, questioning, do people like this even deserve redemption? Just as he turned to leave, a voice echoed in the distance. Ping froze, listening carefully. Did someone call out to him? Was he still in High Academy? Today is a special day, a chance must not be missed. Ping spun around, scanning his surroundings. His voice low and cautious, he asked, "Another san?" After completing the sweep, he pulled out his communicator and reported to Captain C2 that the task was finished. However, amidst the whispering winds, he sensed unrest brewing at the nearby Ha Academy. It seemed something serious was unfolding, something they intended to seize by force. Meanwhile, back at the mopping-up headquarters, C2 stood holding a similar communication device. Behind him hovered a semi-transparent girl, wrapped in a blue energy aura, pressing her index finger against the center of her forehead. Sensing her struggle, C2 shifted his attention to her. The girl reported that she couldn't sense anything within Ha Academy. Someone had erected a barrier so strong that even her abilities couldn't penetrate it. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, C2 immediately ordered a subordinate to head over and assess the situation firsthand, warning him not to act rashly until reinforcements arrived. He would contact Shasan directly for support. Accepting the captain's order, our protagonist dashed toward Ha Academy. Upon arriving, he saw a massive red barrier shimmering around the building, even lightning strikes couldn't penetrate it. Inside, 3 figures in raincoats moved stealthily, their flashlights piercing the dim corridors. The blonde among them cursed aloud, frustrated, "It's been 15 minutes. Where the hell is Chining hiding those girls?" Just then, the man with colored hair noticed something amiss. Addressing the blonde man as boss, he informed him that someone had breached the barrier. Panic flashed across the big-lipped man's face as he asked, "Did they find us?" The blonde, however, reassured them, stating they had both a dragon stone and a nightingale lamp, making detection nearly impossible. Still, if the intruder had managed to alert the academy, things could spiral out of control quickly. Determined, he commanded his team to find the damsel at all costs, urging them to hurry. Outside, amid the raging storm, Pin observed the building. His eyes caught sight of a pillar entwined with a dragon-shaped formation. Curious, he triggered his system's identification skill. A system window materialized, Dragon Stone, grade, epic. It explained that for dragon stones could create a dragon battle barrier capable of blocking or destroying most entry barriers. Another window popped up, revealing a grim scene, thousands of people boiled in a massive cauldron, their blood forging the dragon stones. Horrified, Pin realized that these artifacts, long banned, were born of human sacrifice. They didn't seem tied to the big 3 powers either. Could it be the remnants of the infamous Zhu family? Speculations churned in Pin's mind. Were they the ones gathering alienated beasts outside the city? And for what purpose? Intent on uncovering more, Pin sneaked closer to the academy. Hearing faint voices, he activated the Nightwalker ability. Blending into the shadows, he slipped inside just as the trio in raincoats exited the building. Through the window, Pin spotted them. The colored-hair man cradled a body in his arms while the blonde boss instructed them to conserve strength for emergencies. He also ordered the dragon stones be dismantled to erase all evidence. Keeping his distance, Pin pulled out his communicator and quietly reported the enemy had been identified, members of the Zhu family. A breakdown of their levels appeared: Scorpion Skill User, Level 20 Probing Skill User, Level 17 Hypnotist, Level 15 C2 acknowledged the information. Another system window opened, Nightingale Lamp, Current Energy, 16/100. Pin realized the trio's clever use of the lamp masked their presence. But with energy running low, they were vulnerable. Examining the unconscious girl with pink hair, Pin pulled up her information: name, Chin Junting race, human affiliation, Ha Academy rank, mid-level awakener talent, mother's blood. Her unique blood could bond with living beings, turning alienated beasts into loyal followers, a terrifying potential if controlled. Her talent resembled an enhanced version of the contract gem, but even more dangerous. Realizing the Zhu family's sinister intent, Pin swore he wouldn't let them succeed. This girl was innocent. Suddenly, the trio vanished into the night, leaving the academy grounds. Pin sprinted after them, shouting, "Did you run away?" However, the system informed him, identification aborted. Back at headquarters, Manny placed 2 fingers to her forehead, focusing her blue energy. She sensed them, they were fleeing town. At this rate, they'd escape. Pin declared he could stop them. Though warned by C2 not to act recklessly, Pin couldn't stand by. He would stall them, even if it meant facing them alone. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, the fleeing trio hurried along when a dark figure lunged from the bushes, a wolf. Shrouded in thick mist. Startled, the blonde leader yelled, "A misaltered beast. What's it doing in town?" But hidden behind the fog mask was Ping, using the Stygian mist to disguise himself as the wolf. Thanks to the Iron Spirit Forge, the mist cloaked his presence perfectly. Yet he remained cautious, as one misstep, and the level 20 appraiser could see through the ruse. The blonde man raised 2 fingers to his face, activating his assessment skill, trying to gauge the wolf's strength. But before he could complete it, the wolf growled, disrupting the assessment. He thought to himself, what the hell, as he interrupted her. Suddenly, dark energy surged out and formed into a massive wolf behind the blonde-haired man. The wolf snarled, preparing to attack, but the man noticed in time and quickly turned around. He shouted at Hang San, instructing him to hypnotize the creature. The wolf lunged forward, knocking him off his feet. S shouted at the wolf to divert its attention, spreading his arms wide as he began attempting to hypnotize it. Pink energy gathered around him, and for a moment, the wolf nearly obeyed. But ultimately, it fell completely under the hypnotist's control. S smirked, pleased that it worked, but Ping furrowed his brows. My mental power is infinite, he thought, so mind control won't affect me. I can use this to my advantage. S warned him sternly, don't move. The main character realized he needed to pretend he was under control to get closer. San cautiously approached, trying to touch him, repeating, don't move. Meanwhile, the wolf suddenly lunged at the blonde-haired man, narrowly missing with a powerful swipe. Now's the time for a sneak attack. Ping thought. But S, caught off guard, shouted, what? How is it moving? The wolf roared furiously and pounced, sinking its fangs into San's neck. Blood gushed from the wound as San screamed in agony, calling desperately for the boss to save him. The blonde-haired man, panicking, shouted San's name. At that moment, another man, one with colored hair and a captive slung over his shoulder, gathered energy in his free hand. What the hell is this? He yelled, blasting the wolf away from Sand with a burst of energy and forcing it to retreat. A system window suddenly appeared before him, level up to 9th, all attributes increased by 1 point, for killing a higher level enemy, current attributes, physical strength, 30 mental power, infinite power, 31 dexterity, 31 contract gem level. 6th Ping thought it was excellent, he just needed to hold them off a bit longer. The colored-haired man activated his ability, shouting, psychokinesis, hypergravity. Instantly, the dark energy wolf was crushed to the ground, struggling helplessly under the force. Ping was stunned, he couldn't move at all. The blonde-haired guy stood over him confidently, declaring, my name is Ping. I'm a rank N junior motivator from the Iron Spirit Forge, Sweep Squad. Identification, successful. The main character's eyes widened in shock. The blonde-haired man sneered, a mere human. A lowly level N9 novice at that. How do you pretend to be a hero after killing C2's man? Ping felt himself sinking deeper into the ground under the immense pressure. He realized that this was the same supergravity trick the captain had used last time. The blonde-haired man coldly declared, you must die. But Ping forced himself to stay calm. There had to be a way out. Suddenly, a violent storm broke out. Thunder rumbled, lightning flashed constantly, and rain poured in heavy sheets. Ping thought, even though the appraiser isn't at full strength, his weapon is far from ordinary. It's epic. The blonde-haired man drew his bow and fired a glowing yellow energy arrow at Ping. With great effort, Ping dodged it. So the strength of the Zhu family mostly comes from their equipment, he thought. Despite the heavy suppression on his body, Ping could still manipulate the Stygian mist. He summoned 10 units of it, launching several jets of dark energy that struck their enemies. Why isn't he defending against it with his mind? Ping wondered. The blonde-haired man shot another lightning arrow, this time striking the wolf dead on. Ping gritted his teeth, absorbing the blow with all his strength. The enemy aimed yet another arrow and taunted, your skills consume a lot of energy, don't they? Let's see how long you last. Ping dismissed the illusion of the wolf. Maybe he's not unwilling to attack. Maybe he simply can't, he realized. The blonde-haired man, seeing this, assumed he had given up and shot another arrow, but Ping deflected it using a shield of dark energy, consuming 15 units of mist, followed by 5 units of fog. Ping thought it was time to try something new. He pulled an arrow through the dark energy and drove it into the ground. The stock of Stygian fog dropped to 25 out of 100. Using another 15 units, he created a barrage of knives that flew toward the blonde man and the girl in the raincoat. The blonde-haired man, reacting swiftly, batted away the knives with his bow like a sword. Is he still alive? He shouted in disbelief. Dark energy seeped from the ground, freezing the cloak crew in confusion. Ping, kneeling on one knee, spoke out loud, "The only reason I didn't block your attack was because I need both hands to activate this spell." Dark energy coiled around their arms. The girl asked, panicking, "What's happening?" Taking advantage, Ping attacked again. The blonde-haired man shouted, revealing the other guy's name, Hanger. Ping analyzed quickly, "If I can block his hands, telekinesis won't work." Acting swiftly, he pulled out a dark energy dagger and stabbed it into Hanger's stomach. Hanger froze, unable to move, as the mist on his hands cleared. Rage burned in Hanger's eyes. Clutching his wounded side, he growled, "I'll use telekinesis skill, self-mutilation." Ping thought, "The fog has lifted." Hanger, trembling, pulled the dagger out and snarled, "You almost got away with it. But now you're out of time." The blonde-haired man sneered, "You're running out of energy, aren't you?" Hanger, regaining composure, declared, "An eye for an eye, a hand for a hand." But before he could finish, the protagonist unleashed a devastating new skill, Flame Devour, Flame Entanglement. Flames erupted around them, catching Hanger by surprise. Pushed sharply backward, Hanger screamed, "You bastard!" Ping barely managed to stay on his feet. Suddenly, a lightning arrow streaked toward him. He couldn't dodge in time. The arrow struck him squarely in the chest, forcing him onto his knees. Pain shot through him. Hanger smirked, he had so many tricks. Yet it was useless. Ping realized bitterly that their clothes were fireproof. Hanger pointed his energy-charged hand at him while the blonde-haired guy aimed another arrow, ready to finish it. "This is it," the blonde-haired man shouted. Ping, however, looked at them with calm determination. "No," he said coldly, rejecting their conclusion. Suddenly, water surged from behind Ping, rushing toward his rivals. He said it was time to put an end to them. Before he could utter another word, a sharp jet of water pierced through A's body. Another jet of water shot past the blonde-haired man. In a trembling voice, he said that this little stream wouldn't save anyone. Without hesitation, he launched an arrow at the main character, striking his left shoulder. Pin realized he needed to move, right, but the pain forced him to collapse to the ground. Just then, Tsisu appeared behind the blonde man, her ice sword drawn. Startled, he turned and shouted for reinforcements, thinking in panic that this woman could defeat A in a single blow. Tsisu thrust her sword at him, but he barely blocked the attack with his bow, struggling against the sheer force. Suddenly, her strike sent him flying, crashing into the ground. Confused and enraged, he wondered who this girl was. In silence, Tsisu approached. Without giving him a chance to recover, she landed the first, second, and third strikes with her ice sword. The blonde man was sent sprawling even farther away. Gritting his teeth, he cursed himself for wasting so much time on his earlier fight. Realizing he had no other choice, he pulled out a special ring, slipped it onto his finger, and began gathering energy. Tsisu, preparing for her next move, paused in confusion. A massive, powerful bolt of lightning suddenly struck from the sky. She shouted at him to stop, but the lightning had already scattered the surrounding stones and filled the area with a thick cloud of dust. Through the chaos, Tsisu dragged the injured Pin forward by his collar, relieved that he was still alive. The blonde man, using the power of the lightning, teleported to another location and fled. Regretfully, Tsisu muttered that they had failed to capture the remaining members of the Zhu family alive. Pin lay on the ground, utterly exhausted. His strength was drained completely. Over the communication device, Manny's voice came through, telling Tsisu to slow down. Worried, she asked what had happened. Manny delivered shocking news: the enlightened canopy had been destroyed. Tsisu could hardly believe it. Later, standing atop a building with an umbrella shielding her from the rain, a statuesque man approached her. Bowing respectfully, he asked why she had summoned him. She inquired about the gathering of alienated beasts outside the city. The man reported that the preparations were complete. A bolt of lightning struck near the city, startling them. She wondered aloud if it could be connected to the 10,000 thunders or if Zon had gotten himself into trouble. The man nervously brushed it off as just thunder, but the girl, her fox-like instincts awakening, fixed him with a sharp gaze. She asked if he had seen anything unusual. Fearfully, he insisted he hadn't. Sensing his fear, she questioned why he was so nervous. Embarrassed, he admitted that he had been terrified of thunder since childhood. Dismissing him as a coward, she turned away. However, she couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was happening, something hidden just like before, when that mysterious person had evaded death and vanished without a trace. Jumping from the roof lightly, Shu glided over the city. She reflected that while human illusions didn't usually fool her people, they could still indirectly blind them. Maybe the entire city was a smoke screen. Her eyes burned with anger as she realized it, shouting that it was a clever plan. She activated her expansion, releasing a dark energy that spread throughout the sky, mingling with the falling rain. Meanwhile, Sisu looked up at the shifting sky, wondering where the girl from Hayes Academy had gone. She turned back to Pin, who was still in pain on the ground. Trembling, he pointed toward a lamp and urged her to use it. Puzzled, Sisu asked about the so-called nightingale lamp. Dark red energy spread across the area, and out of the mist, hungry eyes appeared, Shu's eyes, cold and calculating, surveying the entire city. Spotting something, Shu realized they had found a mouse. Zon, carrying a captive in his arms, fled through the rainy streets, mentally scolding himself for almost forgetting the girl. Shu, noticing the movement, shouted, "Who's running away from the city at this hour?" Hearing this, a dignified man nearby thought in fear that they had been discovered. Shu darted away from her vantage point. The man tried to stop her but failed, shouting that he couldn't hold her back. Near the city wall, a squad in raincoats gathered. Zon transmitted urgent information through a communicator, warning that a spy, Pin, was still active in the city. Their operation last night had been compromised, Sun and Air were dead, and reinforcements had forced him to use the Thunderbolt. Hearing this, the squad's leader asked in shock if Pin was really still alive. Sujuan confirmed it grimly, adding that Pin not only knew their secrets but also worked at a blacksmith shop called Spirit of Iron. Understanding the gravity, the squad decided that first, they must get the girl out of the city safely. However, confusion arose when Sujuan violently shouted Shu's name, causing fear among the group. Just then, a solid, calm man approached and scolded them for panicking. He informed them grimly that Sujuan had been killed by the fox. Enraged, another member smashed the communicator to the ground, shouting whether all their years of planning had been for nothing. But the dignified man remained calm, reminding them that the Holy Virgin was still alive, the true nemesis of the fox. Once the Moon Prince realized he couldn't kill her, he would surely return her to the town hall. A thug from the squad, desperate, asked what they would do without the Holy Virgin. How could they control the fox now? The man explained their hidden plan. There was a secret passage under the town hall leading out of the city, known only to them. They would send the alienated beasts through this passage to create chaos, distracting the foxes while they rescued the Holy Virgin. Sitting nearby, a purple-haired man grumbled that it was easier said than done, especially with the Moon Prince guarding the city lord's mansion. The leader, however, thoughtfully countered, they would use Pin as bait. With the Moon Prince monitoring the city closely, any wrong move would attract attention. Their task was simple: send their best fighters to attack the Spirit of Iron blacksmith shop, where Pin was hiding. In the ensuing chaos, the sweep squad and the Moon Prince would clash, and they would unleash the alienated beasts to attack the city lord's mansion at the perfect moment. The squad listened closely as the purple-haired man spoke, his voice filled with urgency. He explained that their mission was no different from smashing the face of the Sky Fox itself. That was why success was non-negotiable, failure was not an option. Most importantly, they must not reveal his identity during the operation. The goon standing nearby agreed, comparing it to the pride of someone who carried the bloodline of the Jew family. Anger flickered in the purple-haired man's eyes as he declared that they would continue to support him in the Vice Lord game. Meanwhile, in Zon's hands, the Holy Virgin lay unconscious. After some time, Ping's eyes fluttered open. CEI, touching his shoulder gently, asked if he was awake and whether he was feeling ill. Slowly, Ping rose from the couch where he had been resting. His gaze scanned the unfamiliar room as he weakly asked where he was. The girl standing beside him replied carefully, this was the base of the sweep group. They had rushed him here immediately after the last night's battle. Ping glanced at the next couch, where Captain Bo lay, heavily bandaged and unconscious. Ping had heard rumors. Could this truly be her doing? CEI confirmed it was indeed Su who had treated Bo. It seemed Su was already aware of their hidden presence. Just then, another girl entered the room, smiling warmly. She remarked that Ping had woken much faster than expected. His recovery was impressive. Dressed in green, she praised Ping, saying he had fought 3 opponents more than 10 levels higher, and even killed one of them. How had he managed that? She leaned in, curious. Ping humbly brushed it off, thinking to himself that he should keep a low profile. The girl proudly announced that she had healed him herself. Ping laughed awkwardly, calling himself incredibly lucky. Surviving such a disaster was nothing short of a blessing. In truth, if it hadn't been for her, he would have died long ago. He had heard Sue was cold and strict, but she didn't seem that way at all now. Sue simply replied that it was a small favor. After all, she didn't need to guard the canopy anymore. She then said she needed to go meet the others, leaving Ping to his thoughts. How strange everything felt. Meanwhile, in another wing of the sweep group's headquarters, China Via sat snoozing on a chair, while Manny sat reading, her face twisted in frustration. Work never seemed to end. With a groan, she slumped onto the table, mumbling about asking the captain for a vacation. Loy, half asleep, mumbled encouragement, but Manny glared and tried to shake her awake. When that didn't work, she crumpled a paper in anger and shook Loy harder. Just then, C2 entered the room, smiling wryly. He said they had no choice but to endure. The headquarters lacked enough staff, and patience was their only option. Loy fell to the floor in her sleep, making Manny even more annoyed. Moments later, Sue and Ping walked in from behind Captain C2. Manny rushed into Sue's arms, relieved. The green-clad girl reassured her, promising to help with her work. Manny giggled, happy to be cared for by her sister again. But C2's face turned serious. Pulling out a document from his jacket, he said it was time to get to the point. Earlier, they had believed that the Zhu family had allied with Sky Fox to eliminate rebels. But C2 now doubted any real partnership between them. From the defensive boundary the Zhu family had set, it was clear they knew about the illuminated canopy, yet had not informed Sky Fox. Clearly, they intended to use the canopy for their own gain, without real loyalty to Sky Fox. However, with their current strength, they couldn't challenge Sky Fox alone. That's why the girl they rescued from High Academy last night might be the key. Sue, studying the files, added that Chinelli, the head of High Academy, had only one son, Chinson, who supposedly died 14 years ago, unmarried. Strangely, that same year, Chinelli suddenly announced the existence of a granddaughter, Junting. Investigation revealed she wasn't connected to Pearl City's bloodline. Most likely, she hailed from a distant village. And for 14 years, she had lived isolated, her records completely clean. No awakening. No known abilities. Ping suddenly spoke up, thumping his chest. He knew about Junting's ability. He had secretly used the identification technique on her. Everyone turned to him, stunned. He revealed that her power was called Holy Maiden's Blood. C2 frowned thoughtfully. Outside the city, the Holy Maiden, the sacred ancestral village. It couldn't all be a coincidence. Ping then explained how her ability worked, but even he seemed unsure of the full extent. Elsewhere, inside the Grand City Lord's mansion, Junting and another girl sat together at a large dining table, nibbling on sweets. Junting bit into a sweet bun and, smiling brightly, asked if her sister had always lived in such a big place. Shu, stern as ever, nodded silently. Junting asked again if she was really important. She didn't look sick at all. Shu coldly refuted her words. As Junting poured tea, she smiled kindly, saying Grandpa always told her to eat more when sad. But suddenly, dark energy burst from Shu as she screamed internally to kill Junting. For a brief, horrifying second, her murderous aura filled the room, yet suddenly, her eyes snapped open, and everything returned to normal. Confused and shaken, Shu stared blankly as Junting handed her a cookie, smiling sweetly and asking why her little sister wasn't eating. Reluctantly, Shu bit into a cookie, feeling deep confusion. Why couldn't she attack her? And why did she feel guilty toward a mere human? Junting then gulped the tea and almost spat it out, coughing violently. She cursed the terrible taste, blaming the idiot who made it, unknowingly embarrassing Shu even more, who had brewed it. Junting cheerfully jumped up, promising to make better tea. Shu watched her run away, troubled deeply. Something was wrong. As a prince of the Fox clan, Shu shouldn't have these feelings. But who exactly was this girl? Back at the sweep group's training room, Sisu charged at Ping fiercely, attacking without restraint. She explained that his Steigen mist bore some resemblance to her water element. Both could manipulate form freely, such as for mind control or attacks. However, there was a crucial difference. Her water could be recycled endlessly, while his Steigen mist was a one-time consumable. Ping defended gracefully with a dagger, blocking each of her attacks swiftly. Sisu pointed out that if he could somehow shift Stygian mist between gas, liquid, and solid states, like water, it would become far more powerful and versatile. Ping realized that the fog's lack of solidity also had its advantages. For instance, he didn't need to store it inside a pumpkin to carry it around. Suddenly, Sisu attacked him, shouting for him to stay focused. Ping hadn't expected such a swift move. The girl pushed him across the room with surprising force. Reacting quickly, Ping stopped his fall by using 5 units of his fog, realizing it could serve as a shock absorber too. Floating in the air, Sisu pointed out that the fog could also absorb fear from creatures and transform it into mist, slightly making up for its lack of durability. Without warning, Sisu unleashed a blizzard. Inside the room, Ping performed acrobatic maneuvers to dodge falling ice flows, confident he could still avoid attacks at this level. However, under his feet, the ice turned into water. At first confused, Ping soon realized that the water began to wrap around his body, trapping his limbs. Alarmed, he shouted that this wasn't good. The distraction left him vulnerable to Sisu's continued blizzard assault. Sisu approached him and calmly stated that if the enemy didn't fear him, his fog would soon dry up. In response, Ping smiled fiercely and said that if he struck hard enough, a single hit would be enough to defeat an opponent. Spending 50 points, Ping activated the mist and created a dagger above the girl's head. Sisu, caught off guard, hurriedly formed a water prison around herself, challenging him to break through. Yet the mist dagger shot straight at her, stopping just in front of her forehead. Stunned, Sisu wondered if Ping's attack had really broken through her water prison. Standing in water shackles, Ping declared that she had lost. Sisu smiled and admitted it was impressive. His fog managed to penetrate her defenses. Freeing herself, she speculated that perhaps the alienated beast from the Stygian mist, from which Ping's power came, was descended from the royal alienated beasts. If so, it explained why Ping's fog could deal more damage than its class suggested. She approached Ping and remarked that although he still lacked combat experience, he would have been ready to kill if it had been a death match. Ping asked curiously, "Is it ripe?" But before Sisu could answer, the water around his body began to boil. Ping screamed in pain, shouting how hot it was. Majestically, Sisu explained that it was important to familiarize himself with the properties of his abilities. Water could turn into ice, boiling water, or even steam, and each form could have a tactical advantage. Meanwhile, Ping squatted down, blowing on his hands in discomfort. Yet despite the pain, he gathered mist into his palms and crafted it into a spider. He gleefully shoved it toward Sisu. Terrified at the sight of the spider, Sisu screamed, shooting a burst of water at Ping's face and pleading with him to let it go. In her panic, Ping unintentionally absorbed 100 units of Stygian fog and ended up gulping down a stream of water. Alarmed, Sisu grabbed him by the neck, yelling at him to spit it out. The pure water element was poisonous. Struggling, Ping joked that if the poison didn't kill him, Sisu might strangle him to death. The girl apologized frantically. Ping soon felt strange, his body was weakening, and he couldn't control himself. Suddenly, his entire form turned into water, and his clothes slipped off. Both of them stared in shock. Ping looked at his watery hand in disbelief, wondering if this meant he had awakened a new ability. He immediately used his identification skill, and a system window appeared. Host, Ping Race, Human Camp, Sweep Team Spirit of Iron Forge Growth, 6 stars rank, 9th level beginner awakened physical strength, 30 mental strength, 31 dexterity, 31 talent, 6th level contract gem, bonus effect, absolute command, absolute obedience, skills, advanced night walk, Stygian mist walker, fire eater, advanced, whisper of the wind, beginner, alienated devourer, 10% chance to acquire. Special physique after consuming special items, pure water body, beginner. Ping realized that thanks to the 6th level gemstone, he had awakened 2 talents, one being the pure water body. Excited, he tested his new ability by morphing his body into a puddle, then into a simple figure with arms and legs, and finally into a monstrous form. Eventually, he returned to his human appearance and proudly called Sisu to see. However, realizing he was still naked, Sisu turned away, blushing, and told him to get dressed first. Embarrassed, Ping hurried to put on his clothes. Explaining everything, Ping said it seemed drinking her water had awakened his pure water body. Sisu, amazed, thought that Ping's growth was absurdly fast. A pure water body was like a dream for water elementalists, and yet Ping had awakened it so easily. As they were still talking, the communication device in Sisu's hand flashed and buzzed. She answered and was told that the Spirit Iron Forge was under attack, and reinforcements were urgently needed. Hearing this, Ping became alert. The girl ordered reinforcements from nearby areas and prepared to move. Ping immediately volunteered to help, determined to protect his friends. Sisu tried to stop him, warning that it could be a trap. Confident, Ping reassured her, today, he had awakened the ability to turn into water and could escape easily if needed. They ran out together. Arriving at the Iron Forge, they saw wounded everywhere. Sisu took charge, assigning one team to search for survivors and another to build defenses. Meanwhile, Ping rushed outside, shouting names. A wounded. Chan pointed weakly to the side. Uncle Lu and Zon were injured. Ping sprinted to them, shouting he would help. While he bandaged his sister's injured arm, she calmly assured him that losing an arm wasn't fatal. Suddenly, a team arrived to take the wounded for treatment. Spotting Jamin on a stretcher, Ping ran to her, devastated. She comforted him, saying she was merely unconscious, nothing life-threatening. Still, she warned him seriously, the killers seemed to be after him specifically. Had he offended someone powerful recently? Ping smiled and told her not to worry, urging her to focus on her recovery. After some time, Jamin was carried away on a stretcher. Standing beside the protagonist, someone warned that staying in the city was too dangerous. The cleanup team would escort them to a safe place outside the city for treatment. Ping, his face serious, admitted that it was likely his fault. The Zhu family members must have been behind this attack. Determined, he said he would immediately send someone to investigate. Suddenly, Shu appeared, announcing that the energy fluctuations had originated here. She claimed those two were responsible for the deaths of many members of her clan. In an emergency like this, they would rather waste resources than allow a threat to survive. Ping grew anxious, recognizing her voice. The whisper of the wind was unmistakable and now frighteningly close. Without warning, a powerful attack shot toward them. The protagonist reacted quickly, grabbing Ping and dodging the strike. Shu, appearing from the shadows, looked surprised. She hadn't expected him to notice her attack. Ping immediately checked if his companion was okay. She assured him she was fine, but questioned how Shu had even made it to the scene. After all, this operation was supposed to be classified. The protagonist speculated that Shu might have been monitoring the entire city. Recognizing Ping, Shu asked in surprise how he had been doing. Internally, Ping reminded himself to stay calm and focus on identifying the situation. The system window appeared, identification. 3 times. Before Ping could act, Shu shouted at him to leave. She would hold off the enemy. Charging forward, Shu unleashed her blizzard ability. Watching from a distance, the protagonist realized she had used a finishing move without hesitation, meaning her identity was probably exposed. To protect herself, Shu quickly erected a defensive barrier. She was sure her opponents were linked to recent chaos in the city. Suddenly, another powerful attack came from behind, but Shu instantly summoned an ice shield. Though it shattered into fragments, it had served its purpose. Shu thought with a grim smile that it didn't matter if her identity was compromised, her illusions would keep her hidden. Her enemies could only guess her location based on the cold air around them. Launching another fierce magic assault, Shu unleashed tentacle-like attacks from all directions. Enveloped in a cold aura, she tried to block them. The protagonist urgently shouted at Shu, warning her to look up and to the left. She realized that if it weren't for Ping's guidance, she would have been overwhelmed already. As she dodged, she wondered how Ping could see through her clan's unique disguises. The protagonist nimbly avoided a volley of attacks and concluded that Ping was likely the only one who could see through the illusions. Yelling, he said they should have eliminated her at the beginning. Now, they would see how long she could hide. Facing a barrage, the protagonist struggled. He couldn't both dodge attacks and guide Shu's positioning at the same time. Yet, he persisted, shouting, 3 circles to the left, 3 to the right. Closing the gap, Ping activated the Stygian mist to its maximum, forming a purple shield around them. With a teasing smile, he asked if Shu was getting frustrated. Shu, smirking madly, admitted he was good at dodging, but warned him that now he was doomed. If he could handle 3 attacks, what about 3,000? Instantly, a tsunami of assaults rained down. Inside the barrier, the system window displayed rapid depletion, 50%. 30%. 10%. The protagonist gritted his teeth. Just one more. Second. But the mist supply kept falling, 8%. 5%. 0%. Ping thought grimly that he had used 100% of the Steigen mist in one go and still couldn't completely block the attacks. Just when all seemed lost, the spirit of Psi 2 appeared, offering him one last chance. A ray of sunlight broke through the clouds, enveloping them. "Let Ping be faster," the spirit cried. Seizing the moment, the protagonist detonated the protective sphere, grabbed Shu's hand, and fled as the monstrous assaults thrashed behind them. Shu, furious, ordered her summoned beast to scatter and hunt Ping down. Moments later, they reached a safe house outside the city, guarded by the cleanup team. Inside, the protagonist stood by Chang's bedside. She lay resting in the ward. "So, he's now officially part of the team," she smiled faintly. "And Pearl City has fallen into the hands of those foxes." Ping admitted that although they dared not act recklessly yet, the city was no longer safe. He bowed his head, apologizing sincerely. It was all his fault. Chang, however, thanked him instead. After all, he had saved Uncle Lu and the others. The protagonist promised he would find a way to reclaim the forge. For now, he urged her to remain hidden outside the city. Watching over her, he thought how much he had grown without even realizing it. Chang teased, smiling, "The girl is still waiting for you." Outside the room, Ping encountered her again. She asked bluntly why he had called her a girl. Embarrassed, Ping thought it was Sister Chang's habit of calling her that, and he'd spoken incorrectly. Though he was older, he still felt awkward around her. "It's just a name," she said eventually. "Call me whatever you like." With that, she insisted he stay close. His identity was compromised. Returning to Pearl City was too dangerous. For now, he should await orders from the captain. The information he had provided about the Holy Maiden had been invaluable, and the flower-picking mission had been completed perfectly. Smiling, she handed him a small flask. "This is your reward." Ping accepted it in surprise. "Golden blood? Is this really golden blood?" She nodded. "This is Bose's golden blood. It's harvested periodically to heal teammates or extend elders' lives. Drink it during training, you might awaken a new ability." She warned him with a mischievous glint, since golden blood carried lineage powers. If he succeeded, he might attract unwanted attention from women seeking strong descendants. Holding the flask, Ping thought that while success wasn't guaranteed, he would at least hope for the best. After drinking the liquid, he gained the fog body and pure body abilities. Curious, he inspected his hands, no changes at first. Then suddenly, blood bloomed across his fingers. Startled, he checked the system window. A notification appeared: pure blood body allows transformation into pure blood form. Can inject healing into others to rapidly recover injuries. Ping wondered whether this ability belonged to the category of infinity skills. Apparently, pure blood could also sense the condition of a target. Excitedly, he marveled at the power in his hands. Then, noticing a scar on the girl's face, he asked gently about it. Embarrassed, she covered her face and brushed it off. Ping frowned slightly. He couldn't help but wonder if something more was hidden behind that scar. She looked at him closely and asked if there was anything unusual about him besides the blood on his hands. With a calm expression, the protagonist replied that this blood allowed him to sense the state of all living beings. Not only that, but he also had the ability to enter his partner's body and heal any internal damage. Even scars could be repaired. With a slight smile, he added that even Ping's broken arm could be fixed. Ping chuckled and said the blood alone was impressive enough for now. In theory, even if only a person's skin remained, he could still restore the body. He wondered, could a body of pure water dodge attacks, while a body of pure blood healed from them? Turning towards the ward, he said that he should go and heal Chong. Ping smiled again and suggested they discuss it later, not as teammates, but as old friends. Her face flushed slightly, and she gave a shy nod. Meanwhile, in the forest, a massive army of powerful monsters was closing in on the field. Elsewhere, Louis approached C2, who was examining some old documents. She noticed the paper in his hands and asked about it. He explained seriously that these were the ancient archives of the sacred ancestral village. He asked if she remembered the old tales. Despite the atrocities committed by the Zhu family when they held power, they were once heroes. Back then, during a brutal winter, Qian, the Zhu family head, merged his body with a bird, the sun god. Every day, he flew into the sky to bring light and warmth to the people. He did this for 10 years until he died of exhaustion. Louis nodded. She remembered. Qian had been buried in the Sunset Mountains outside Pearl City. Survivors guarded his grave, and over centuries, their descendants united to form the sacred ancestral village. C2 continued. Every 100 years, a holy woman is born in that village. Her bloodline protects it from wild beasts. Luris' eyes widened. Then, Ting is the holy maiden of the sacred ancestral village. C2 confirmed it. The Jew family likely intended to use the holy maiden to control the heavenly fox. Louis asked why the maiden would appear in HA Academy. After what had happened, the village had not moved. C2 wondered if this was deliberate. Perhaps the village claimed their maiden was captured, using that as a reason to start a war with Pearl City. Louis pressed further. Why would they do that? C2 explained that 150 years ago, Pearl City had been ruled by a female tyrant. To prevent another rise of the Jew family, the cleanup team named her the most wanted criminal. Eventually, the overlord banished her. But somehow, she became the leader of the sacred ancestral village. Perhaps she still longed to reclaim power, and was simply waiting for the right time. As tension rose, the cleanup team began setting up shelters across the battlefield. Some were hidden among rocks, others underground or nestled in trees. In one such place, Shelter 003, someone stood near the door, sensing movement. Was it the Shu family again? Investigating would risk exposing the wounded. Could they really rely on Ping alone? Just then, the protagonist entered, beaming, holding a glowing lamp in his hands. A soft purple light shimmered from within. "I did it," he shouted. Ping looked at the lamp, surprised. Wasn't it discharged? It was, the protagonist admitted, but I thought it'd be a waste to toss it, so I tried recharging it. He had used his abilities, flame entanglement, pure water, pure blood, and pure mist, on the lamp in that exact order. The flame inside changed color. A system window popped up. Nightingale lamp masks the user's breath, scent, and energy signature. Current energy, 21,100. With a grin, Ping placed the lamp near Jamin and explained that pouring Steigen mist into it enhanced its effects. This was exactly what they needed. With the shelter lit, they could now safely scout the area. Soon, the protagonist and his group were deep in the forest. He stared ahead, shocked by what he saw. "Is this too much?" he muttered. "Has the Zhu family always controlled this many alienated beasts?" A voice came through the radio, grave and focused. "We've spotted around 10,000 alienated beasts near Shelter 003. They're headed for Pearl City. Mostly wolves and bullet rabbits, low level, but in huge numbers." Ping frowned. "Why are they running like that?" "They are not charging, more like fleeing." Then he turned, his face pale. "Look there, quickly!" The radio crackled again, this time with fear in the voice. "There's also a swarm of walking dead, around 50,000 of them, moving toward the city." Back at base, C2 slammed his hand on the table, tension boiling over. 10,000 beasts. 50,000 corpses. The heavenly fox. And the surviving Zhu clan. "We can't fight them all at once." He paused, then looked determined. "Unless there's another way." He called out urgently, "Manny! Louis! G! Get ready, we're opening the canopy again." Startled, they asked what he meant. C2 replied sharply, "Yesterday, when I was protecting Ping, I suppressed the Moon Prince." Even though he stood tall, Ping still didn't feel fully recovered. Trust in the patrol and investigation team had worn thin, but Pearl City wasn't defenseless. Many powerful warriors remained. To alert the city, they carved warnings into the canopy above, signaling the appearance of the walking dead. The awakened were slowly converging on the city, planning to infiltrate enemy lines, protect Pearl City, and remain hidden from the watchful eyes of the Sky Fox. Using magic, the Sky Fox SAU announced a switch to a multiplayer communication channel. As the connection stabilized across all participating units, they gave Ping and his squad a crucial command: hold the line, stop the alien beasts and the walking dead outside the city walls, and buy time for those still gathering inside. Meanwhile, in Shelter Number 5, Ming confirmed this was the unit they had been waiting for. C2 quickly redirected them to Shelter 003 to provide support. As the unit rallied behind Ming, he looked to his comrades and declared, "Our time has come." At the City Lord's mansion, Xinging moved cautiously through the corridor, thinking the raid on the forge had likely succeeded. With a click, he opened a channel on his walkie-talkie and confirmed that the Moon Prince was no longer in the mansion. Time to proceed with the next phase. But then came C2's voice, tense with concern. We've encountered a problem, unknown dead have appeared outside the city, and the alienated beasts are panicking. We've lost control. Xinging's face twisted in horror. If this spiraled any further, their plan would collapse. After ending the call, he clenched his fists. Was this sabotage? No more delays, he muttered. Find the girl and extract her. But just then, Patrol Squad No. 1 appeared behind him. Xinging's expression stiffened as he recognized their leader, Captain Katie. Why was he here, and with so many troops? Approaching him, Xinging asked directly, Isn't the city lord absent? If there's something urgent, tell me first. Katie didn't answer. He silently walked past him. Xinging narrowed his eyes. What's with the attitude? Is something off? The squad entered a nearby room. Xinging, still suspicious, followed. Inside, Junting stretched out her hand, smiling brightly. We made a new friend. Let's play together. Katie took a sip of wine, trying to mask his unease. The Lord had apparently given an order, but for what? We're supposed to find Ping, he mumbled. Junting stepped closer, scolding him gently, so clumsy. Grandpa always said, don't waste anything. Katie bowed, dropping to one knee. I agree with the Holy Maiden. She blinked. Holy Maiden? Why does everyone call me that? You're all just my friends. As music began playing, she took Katie's hand and spun around. Let's dance. Xinging watched from the shadows, unsettled. The Holy Maiden only affects alienated beasts, so Katie's been replaced. Was this the Sky Fox's doing? Have all the patrols fallen? It dawned on him that perhaps everyone in this mansion was a fox in disguise. But Junting was clearly still in control, they needed her. He approached her with a smile. Are you having fun? Junting twirled, laughing. I didn't know my sister threw this party. But why hasn't she returned? Xinging squeezed her hand playfully. She's probably busy, but I know somewhere even more fun. Want to go? Junting pulled back, wary. I don't even know you. And how do you know my name? Silence. Suddenly, every eye in the room turned to him, their gazes sharp and threatening. Elsewhere near shelter number 3, Ping and his allies fought off waves of alienated beasts. Channeling his ability, Stygian Mist, he called to his companion, I've gathered them up. Freeze them! A massive block of ice erupted. But before they could celebrate, maddened beasts shattered it and charged forward. There's too many, someone cried. Ping gathered energy. The fear radiating from the beasts was empowering him. Time to unleash 100% Stygian Mist. He transformed into a colossal magical dragon, sweeping through the enemy ranks. I can see it now. Energy, experience points, if I keep this up, I'll level up soon. One of the beasts barked in a primal tongue, scatter. Avoid the dragon. The beast split up. Ping's ally hurled ice spikes, intercepting those trying to flee. I've got the runners. Ping smiled. Nice work. He briefly wondered how many he had taken down. If only I had a counter for kills. Focus, his partner yelled. They're coming again. Suddenly, a magical fireball struck him from the side. As he turned, he spotted the undead. They're casting spells. Ping was shocked. The Walking Dead using magic. The system chimed in, race. Dead Man Camp, Village of Sacred Ancestors class, beginner level, 6 so they're from the Sacred Ancestors village? I need to report this now. He spun, launching a counterattack. These things feel no fear, but I'll burn them anyway. Grabbing a pair of undead, Ping soared into the sky and ignited them. Flaming corpses rained down like meteors. +2 attribute points perfect, Ping thought. Now my stats are nearly double what they should be. His partner used Blade Waltz, slicing through the crowd. But a corpse with a mace ambushed her. Ping intervened with a powerful stomp. That's Sis's invincible leg. Cuts the sky to pieces. She gave him a puzzled look. What are you even talking about? Ping surveyed the battlefield. That's wave 1, at least 1,000 beasts and undead. The second wave will arrive in 30 minutes. But how are these corpses still using powers? They must have been awakened even before death, she replied. Such dirty tactics, is the Jew family behind this again? No, Ping answered, eyes narrowing. They're from the sacred ancestors' village. That's something far worse. Back in his office, C2 spoke into the radio. The Jew family may be cruel, but to them, beasts are sacred. This is something else entirely. They had no qualms about manipulating corpses, unconcerned with preserving their original forms. This incident seemed deeply connected to the sacred ancestral village. Ping's analysis confirmed it, and with surprise, she asked, "They're from the sacred ancestral village?" That meant she was behind it all. Suddenly, a green, poisonous mist spread through the forest. Covering her face, Ping muttered in excitement, "Let him hold his breath, this poison is dangerous." The protagonist, with a serious expression, recognized the scent. Where had he smelled this before? It was familiar, like the stench of rotten eggs. Hydrogen sulfide. His memory flashed back to a rescue mission, a fire sparked by this very gas. If hydrogen sulfide was in this mist, it was combustible. Ping called out for her to be ready, shouting, "Watch the explosion!" Surprised, she asked, "What's he doing?" With a sharp gaze, the protagonist replied, "There's no time to explain, just trust me." Activating his ability Fire Eater, Flame Entanglement, a violent explosion erupted across the area. A system window flashed, Fire Eater Flame Reserves, 163 or 300. 213 or 300. 263 or 300. But there was no time to relax. He shouted, "The second wave of zombies is already coming." Someone asked breathlessly, "Didn't we have half an hour?" The smoke cleared, and on the horizon appeared Xiangming, leading a swarm of undead. Ping instantly activated her opponent analysis technique. Xiangming's expression turned serious, they neutralized the zombie toxin. These youngsters have potential. But the protagonist was confused, he couldn't understand any of it. He focused on analyzing their captain, but like before with Xiao, his power couldn't fully analyze high-level enemies from a distance. In that case, he'd scan all visible monsters at once. System windows popped up rapidly. Analysis successful. 8,188 times. Advanced analysis has been upgraded to strategic analysis. Range and success rate on level 30 plus targets increased. Then came the full analysis of Xiangming, name, Xiangming race, ancient zombie level, 39, tier, supreme awakening, abilities, zombie toxin, subjugates zombies, shared collective memory, master survives as long as subordinates live. Xiangming wasn't interested in wasting time. "Bring them to me, dead or alive," he ordered the giant orc beside him. The protagonist, turning to her, explained, "He's a level 39. A fallen. Do you know what that means?" She nodded, an awakened whose powers shift depending on intent, until their ability evolves into its most efficient form. But mentally, they grow unstable, becoming slaves to their own powers. That's why they're called fallen. And most of them are terrifyingly strong. "The zombies are almost on us," the protagonist shouted. He activated Netherworld Mist, slicing through the horde. Suddenly, a giant orc appeared, roaring, swinging an axe. "Kill them all." Calling into her radio, she reported urgently, "A fallen awakener is riding a giant zombie. I can't stop him alone." Xiangming is leading the horde to the northern gate, level 39 threat inbound. Analyzing the massive zombie, the system revealed, race, zombie rank, highest level, 29 strength, ancient height, none ping, eyes sharp, activated afterlife fog, attempting to seize control. The protagonist wrapped the zombie in a magical chain, but it shattered effortlessly. Ping shouted, "It's useless. He's far beyond the others." Then, a piercing screech echoed from the city. Had the zombies already reached the gate? At that moment, the monster army stood before Pro City's northern gate. Liang stood firm. "No one passes today. Let's finish this." His team charged in, slashing through the undead. Suddenly, a zombie imbued with green energy attacked Liang directly. He sensed something was different, its movements were refined. It broke through his block with a unique style. Monkey King style trapper technique? "Who is this guy?" Liang gasped. The zombie looked at him coldly, "Stupid brother." Liang dodged and slammed him into the ground. Then he noticed an object on the ground, near Binar. Picking it up, Liang froze, his name was etched into it. His eyes widened. This is Big Brother's token," he shouted. "This zombie uses the Beast Hunter Fist technique. Where's the Elder Brother badge?" No way, he's Binar's elder brother, who vanished 30 years ago. The zombie rose, roaring, "Let go of your hatred." Liang's voice shook. "You left to investigate missing awakened, and vanished. You became this?" Their fists collided, each strike a burst of grief and fury. Binar whispered, "Only I can stop him." Liang asked desperately, "Is my brother really gone?" He remembered Binar training him, how Monkey King's style flowed like wind, free from form. His master never believed in him, yet Liang grew stronger, vowing to one day wipe the smirk off the old man's face. But now, tears filled his eyes. "Why are your fists so weak, so slow?" he cried. "Don't disgrace the beast hunter's fists. Don't disgrace your name." Activating Emperor's unshakable body, blood ignition, the system warned, temperature, 500 degrees Celsius mana, strength, and agility-boosted flames engulfed him. "Everyone, clear out," he roared. Flames trailing behind, Liang launched at Binar, fists blazing, until he tore off his brother's arm. Binar smiled faintly, "You've grown strong," then he fell. Liang turned away, whispering, "Rest in peace, brother." But a chilling voice echoed, "Who would have thought my masterpiece would fall like this?" The zombie army's leader revealed himself, radiating dark energy. "No matter. You'll make an excellent replacement." Liang spun around. "Who are you? Did you do this to my brother?" The leader grinned. "Do you lowly insects really believe you can resist me?" Meanwhile, in the holy ancestors' village, Asua addressed the warriors. "Listen closely. Our task is to help the low-tier zombie horde cause chaos in the city, replenish supplies, spread our teachings, and once the Yua brothers capture the Saintus, retreat immediately." Everyone nodded and ran to fulfill the mission. A kneeling fighter raised a concern. "What if a mutated king-level beast interferes? And if we've captured the Saintus, why retreat? Haven't we already declared war?" Asua asked with curiosity, "Does he mean the old fox?" She noted that the Saintus had only just awakened and was merely waiting for C2 to reveal himself. The fighter questioned whether their army was risking too much by advancing so early. Asua, with a confident smile, dismissed his doubts. Despite the Saintus not being fully awakened, her presence alone was enough to intimidate even a king-level mutated beast. The heavenly foxes wouldn't dare act until the Saintus was gone. To take control of Pearl City, they saw only two real threats, the Saintus and C2's cleansing squad. That's why Asua had already set things in motion. One of her men had secretly opened the city gates early, triggering chaos. They planned to use the Saintus as the pretext for war, letting zombies overrun the city. To counter this, the cleansing team would be forced to activate the Sun Moon Pearl, exposing both C2 and his team in the process. While they fought to retake the city, Asua and her allies would use the distraction to escape with the Saintus, clearing the path for the foxes to strike. Once the cleansing squad and the foxes exhausted each other, it would be the perfect time to capture Pearl City. The fighter then brought up a new concern: the Zhu family was also hunting for the Saintus' power. What if they interfered? Asua replied calmly, she had already sensed it. The Saintus was still mentally adrift, her thoughts scattered. In this state, the Zhu family couldn't manipulate her. The real reason the Hosea brothers were sent after the Saintus was because her blood ran through their veins, giving them the unique ability to communicate with her directly. The Zhu family heads, however, were keeping their distance to avoid exposure. If any of them dared to approach the Saintus now, the Hosea brothers would be no match. The fighter couldn't help but admire her strategic brilliance, calling her wisdom itself. Asua nodded, it was time to move. Meanwhile, the protagonist and his team were locked in a brutal fight against the zombie horde. He cried out in frustration, there seemed to be no end to them. Suddenly, one of the zombies began to charge up and attack behind Ping. She shouted in alarm, warning her comrade, and barely managed to deflect the strike, though her sword shattered in the process. She collapsed to the ground, vulnerable. The zombie lunged again. Desperately, the protagonist tried to activate the afterlife fog technique, but the charges were too low. Ping was in the zombie's grip, and he shouted a warning. The fog was fading fast. Just then, Zung appeared between them, blocking the zombie's blow with his massive shield. He smirked. Grandpa's shield isn't just for show. Shadow blades then pierced the zombies holding the protagonist, slicing them apart. Ping, stunned, asked if reinforcements had arrived. Shui, kicking away a zombie, apologized for being late. Ming followed, his blade spinning into the largest creature, reducing it to ash. He approached and asked how long she had trained with a sword. She glared, unimpressed, telling him to shut up. Ming turned to the squad and shouted for everyone to stay sharp. These zombies weren't ordinary, they showed no signs of damage from physical attacks. Ping, raising his hand, claimed he knew how to defeat them. He asked the squad captain to cover him. Ming nodded and charged forward, buying him time. His weapon clashed with the zombies. The protagonist analyzed the enemy's movement, realizing the fallen one controlled them using a flammable toxin. He shouted, throwing a flask of his snake-scale toxin at the zombie. Ping, forging a weapon from the fog, aimed to ignite it. But the system warned 0 units of fog remained. He gritted his teeth. This strike had to count. He plunged his weapon into the zombie, switched to a dagger, and activated his flame skill. With the toxin now inside the creature, he shouted the command, Fire Eater, Flame Entanglement. Flames burst across the monster's body in a fiery explosion. It collapsed, finally defeated. Shui stretched, thinking it was over. But the protagonist corrected her, the real threats had already reached Pearl City. Extending his hand, he explained that wounded were hiding in safe house number 3, shielded by a concealing artifact, though its power was fading. Ming, arms folded, said Captain S2 had already briefed him. They had handled the wounded and witnessed the protagonist's true power. With determination, he turned and said the city still needed them, they would take care of the rest. Ping, addressing him respectfully, said she was counting on him. He looked back at her. You can return to the city. We have enough people here. Surprised, she nodded and shouted back to the protagonist, asking him to wait for her. Later, at Pearl City's northern gate, Lan roared as he activated Unshakable Emperor's body and hyper-regeneration. Weak enemies swarmed the area. His health rapidly restored. Another fighter invoked Mimic, Hunger Wolf form, slashing enemies while the leader healed behind him. He ordered an immediate retreat. Layson hurled a fireball at the enemies, taunting them, was that all they had? He demanded they show their true power. Shaming, observing quietly, mused, the toxin was perfect for creating zombies, so why use it against awakened fire types? Ignoring the enemy's blows, he smirked, they had underestimated him. Layson raised his blazing fist and shouted that this was for his brother's death. He struck, flames roaring. Then, with a final explosive blow, he sent the enemy crashing down, badly wounded, but not yet defeated. Previously, we saw Layson deliver a powerful blow to the enemy leader, believing the battle to be over. But just as the zombies should have collapsed, they kept moving. Layson, shocked, asked why they were still active, only for Strongming to suddenly strike him with a skill, Zombie Toxin, Corpse Usurper. With a wicked grin, Strongming asked mockingly if Layson really believed he could kill him. Layson staggered back in disbelief. How did he survive? Strongming explained that his skill sacrificed the life of one controlled zombie to resurrect himself. Layson, filled with dread, wondered what kind of monster he was up against. Strongming smirked. He had already injected a trace of toxin into Layson's body. Once it spread completely, Layson would no longer be human, he'd become a puppet zombie, created not from corpses, but from living humans. Furious, Layson activated his second stage ability, Emperor's Steadfast Body, Blazing Halo. Flames erupted from his body, raising his temperature to 1000 degrees, increasing his strength, agility, and endurance. But Strongming only laughed. Did Layson really think he could burn the toxin out? Worse, this wasn't even the only toxin. One allowed him to control the zombies themselves. Surrounded by his toxin-enhanced horde, Strongming taunted that unless the toxins were destroyed, his zombies couldn't be killed. Layson declared they didn't need to worry about him. Elsewhere, near Safe House No. 3, a hulking red-eyed zombie growled for death. Ming, watching from a distance, was stunned by its sheer power. Strongming screamed in twisted joy, eager to see how long Layson could hold out. Turning to Ping, Layson asked, was the elder brother still alive? But Ping only growled, filled with rage, vowing that Strongming would pay for everything he had done. Laughing coldly, Strongming activated another ability, telling Layson that if he missed his brother so much, he should reunite with him in death. But Layson had had enough. Channeling everything he had, he struck the massive zombie with a blazing punch, making it cough up blood and stumble backward. The impact left Layson weakened, his fist now dripping with black toxin. The poison spread rapidly. Layson could barely hold himself together. He didn't have enough power left to activate the final form of Emperor's unshakable body. If he fell here, the Northern Gate, and all of Pearl City, would be lost. Suddenly, a new voice shouted across the battlefield. The protagonist had arrived. Charging in, they declared that according to Barrier Squad intel, the head of the martial arts school needed immediate backup. Slashing down zombies and casting ice magic alongside a female mage, the team rushed to Layson's aid. "Hang in there," as she yelled, freezing a line of zombies. Layson spotted an opening, zombie backs exposed. With fury in his eyes, he unleashed Beast Hunter Fist, indestructible body, engulfing enemies in fire. But he was too hurt to continue. Ping rushed to his side. "Don't worry," he said calmly. "I came prepared." Layson doubted his wounds could be healed, but Ping used the skill blood purification, turning into a blood spirit and entering Layson's body. Layson gasped, "How was this even possible?" Ping reassured him, this method was strange, but effective. The external wounds were healed, stamina restored, though he couldn't fully purge the toxin. "That's enough," Layson replied. "Just buy me some time." Meanwhile, the protagonist activated skill analysis. A system window popped up, target, Fong Layson affiliation, human, Beast Hunter Martial Arts School current rank, highest awakening level, 38 potential, skill, Emperor's unwavering body, heals wounds 200% faster. Blood ignition, increases body heat and all stats. At 6,000 degree, unlocks Sunfire form, removes all debuffs, enhances strength, and ignites Emperor's flames into true fire. Revitalized, Layson roared, it was time to end this evil once and for all. But the protagonist stayed alert. He knew that Songming wasn't done. He activated analysis again. Songming, sneering, demanded that everyone bow and become his zombie slaves. Layson snapped back, "That'll never happen." The system revealed more about Songming. As Layson ignited the fire in his body further, he used overheat defense, his body temperature spiked to 3,000 degree, further boosting his stats. He charged forward, burning zombies along the way. "Get ready for round 2, he growled, slamming his fiery fist into Songming. Ping analyzed the situation and warned Songming's life force was tied to the zombies. They needed to kill every last one to destroy him. But the zombies surged from all sides. Layson roared and activated overheat protection again. The flames intensified. Body temp, 4,000 degree. Agility, endurance, strength, maximized. He stood firm in the inferno, ready to burn down every last enemy. As Layson stared into the blazing sun, he muttered, "This still isn't enough. There has to be a way to raise my body temperature faster." Ping, standing beside him, looked regretful. "I'm sorry. My flames can't reach your level. I can't help you anymore." But then, Ping's eyes lit up with sudden realization. "Wait. I have an idea. It might work." The protagonist nodded, transferring the mysterious power to Ping using his unique ability. Layson, surprised, asked, "Why didn't you give this to me earlier?" Ping shrugged, a sheepish smile on his face. "You never asked." As Layson consumed the item, the protagonist watched intently. "So this is Fire Eater." Once again, zombies swarmed the battlefield. Suddenly, a brilliant blue flame erupted around Layson. "What is that?" someone gasped. Observing from afar, said with awe, "This is the first time I've seen Master reach this stage." With a confident smile, he added, "The battle will soon be over." A system prompt appeared, system notification, Emperor's steadfast body has entered Sunfire phase current temperature, 6,000 degrees all toxins burned out successfully from within. The protagonist felt the overwhelming surge of power. What a dominating form. Even Fire Eater can't absorb these flames. Layson, now engulfed in roaring blue fire, turned to him. "This ultimate form is powerful, but it's tearing my body apart. I need time to heal." Ping stepped forward, resolute. "I won't let you down. Everyone, clear the area. His next move could hit us all." With a fiery glare, Layson pointed toward the battlefield. "They can hear me. Evacuate to the city, now." Shaming's eyes widened in disbelief. He burned all the toxins inside him. But the enemy wasn't done. He's commanding the zombies now. "We have to destroy him." Layson roared, invoking his skill, Beast Hunter secret technique, primordial chaos unification. A torrent of blue fire erupted from his mouth, incinerating thousands of zombies in an instant. The battlefield was buried in ashes. From the city walls, a stunned disciple whispered, 20,000 zombies. Gone in a flash. Watching from the sidelines, she muttered, his power, he ranks among the top 3 people I've ever known. Suddenly, urgent voices rang out, the west and east gates have fallen. The other sect masters have betrayed us. Lason's eyes narrowed. Ao don't I? Wuru, they've turned against us. Ying sneered. Pearl City's already lost. No point wasting time. But I'll spare you this time, so when we meet again, come back stronger. Lason stared him down coldly. Next time, you won't leave alive. He turned to his allies. I don't need backup. Go. Help the others inside the city. Addressing Ping, he said, the zombie with the toxin is gone. You should return as well. Ping nodded. Right. I'll go. But if I walk out there now, will I just melt? Back in Pearl City, chaos erupted. The mutated creatures are here. Everyone, evacuate. The cries of civilians filled the air as monsters descended upon the city. Xing watched with amusement. They can scream all they want, he said, smirking. This is what Pearl City deserves without the Zhu family. Arjuan stepped forward. Over 1,000 mutated creatures have entered the city. They're under our control now. Xing's eye sparkled. Perfect. Let's take the city mayor's mansion next. A subordinate hesitated. Are you serious? Junting is still in there. The goddess blood in her might affect the beasts. One of the Zhu elders warned, even the heavenly foxes have become her servants. We can't touch her. Xing waved them off. You don't get it. She hasn't fully awakened. Her mind is like a child's, she controls the beasts unconsciously. We just need to overload her. He grinned. Let enough monsters gather and her powers will spiral out of control. The mansion will descend into chaos, and then, we strike. Inside the mayor's mansion, Junting giggled, spinning in place. Snowball, stop tickling me, she laughed, looking around. Where did everyone go? Why are there so many snowballs? She stared at a strange beast. You're kinda cute, Xing watched from afar. Just like I thought. Surrounded by monsters, her energy is draining. Junting stood, confused. There are so many of them. I don't want any more snowballs. She clutched her head and collapsed, screaming. Meanwhile, in a nearby street, a girl named Nuna ran frantically. Where's Mama? She cried. A monster loomed behind her. Suddenly, Ping arrived, slashing down the beast. I made it in time. The protagonist grabbed the creature by the mouth. You will never hurt anyone again. Nuna stared at him. Sister. Using his ability, the protagonist tore the monster apart. Ping lit another on fire. Can't these things stand still for 2 seconds? Nuna's mother appeared, eyes wide. Are you safe, baby? Nuna ran into her arms. Mom. Her mother turned to Ping. Thank you, please, you must leave. It's too dangerous here. Ping replied, we can't. There's a crowd of monsters ahead, we can't let them advance. She nodded, using magic to send orders. The cleanup squad must secure the perimeter. Evacuate all civilians. Another staff member responded magically, orders received. We're on it. The woman looked out at the swarm. It'll be hard to contain them without damaging the city. The protagonist readied himself. Then we'll hold them off as long as we can. Just buy time. Ping smirked. That's the plan. Suddenly, the monsters froze. Ping frowned. Why are they acting so weird? The staffer, eyes wide, said via magic, Captain, even the mutated beasts on our side have stopped moving. What do you mean? Ping asked. Back at the mayor's mansion, Xing gaped. No, how could this happen? Junting hovered above the ground, wrapped in glowing mana. Xing's face turned pale. No, this can't be. She opened her eyes. An overwhelming wave of energy erupted from her body, flooding the entire city. Members of the Zhu family screamed, we've lost control of all the monsters. Xing's hands trembled. This is a curse. Her goddess blood has fully awakened. Xing couldn't believe his luck. What were the odds of something like this happening? As Junting flew swiftly into the city, she remarked on the massive number of snowballs gathering there. But this wasn't part of the plan. Xing shouted in frustration. They had to catch up to her immediately. Suddenly, he felt a surge of dark energy. Startled, he asked aloud what this ominous force could mean. A chilling thought crossed his mind. Only a mutated king-level beast could release pressure like this. Was such a creature truly here? Had Junting's actions awakened it? If so, they were in serious danger. Brothers, why have we stopped? Awan asked as he noticed Xing halting. A member of the XU family echoed the concern. Xing, lowering his hand slowly, said they had to alert their allies in Pearl City and prepare to capture Junting. But there were other urgent matters. The XU family member nodded in agreement and said he would carry out the order. Xing thought grimly, if the Yaking had awakened, then the Heavenly Foxes now had a king-level fighter on their side. To reveal himself now would be suicide. It was best to remain in the shadows and observe. Elsewhere in the city, Xing directed the Beast Hunter martial disciples to form teams of 3 and eliminate the remaining zombies. They responded in unison, ready for action. Concerned, Xing turned to his master and asked about his condition. Layson replied that thanks to Ping's healing, he was recovering, though still fatigued. Dis, enraged, punched the wall and shouted that the other martial schools had betrayed them. They were worse than the monsters. Layson placed a calming hand on his shoulder. Right now, their priority was to clear the southern gate of zombies and aid the city from within. With so many lives at stake, they had to act fast. Suddenly, a disciple pointed out that a group of awakened ones was approaching from the north. Could they be reinforcements? Ayu was skeptical and said they must not be allowed to pass. When asked if it was the Blazing Sun Martial Arts School, the disciples confirmed it. Fury surged through Layson. How dare they show their faces here, he roared, demanding everyone prepare to fight. It was because of their betrayal, the western gate was left undefended, giving monsters entry to the city. The Beast Hunter disciples cursed them, glaring with hatred. Layson turned to Ayu and demanded to know why they had betrayed Pearl City. Ayu smirked and asked, "Did you really think we wanted to live like this forever?" Layson asked what other life he meant. Ayu motioned toward the city, sparkling and vulnerable. Every year, people died to protect it. What if, instead of guarding this piece of land, they could have created a king, someone to defend the world? Ayu spoke of a student from Layson School who believed in human king superiority. Layson realized who he meant. He had expelled that student. Ayu scoffed, asking if he now wanted to become one of them, sacrificing Pearl City for a larger cause. If you step aside, Ayu warned, we won't harm you. We're only here to retrieve the one who is the key to creating a king in the holy ancestral village. But Layson refused, charging forward. Then we'll settle this with fists. Meanwhile, in Green Square, one of the city's northern parks, Junting hovered in the air as monsters gathered beneath her. Ping stared up at her, puzzled. Wasn't this the same girl who'd been kidnapped before? Could it be because of her that the beast suddenly stopped attacking? Activating the analysis skill, the protagonist learned more about her. The system reported, species, human, fallen 1. Rank, high level awakened. Potential, 12 stars. Faction, unknown. Ability, blood of the goddess, enhances understanding with living creatures, pacifies mutated beasts, and inspires unwavering loyalty. However, this gift came with a price. Those who consumed the blood of the goddess would lose their powers and be cursed by misfortune. The system also revealed a hidden power, the ability to draw the fallen into the shadows of Luo High. The protagonist was stunned. She really became a fallen one, he whispered. She, in turn, murmured that someone was here. Awan's group, observing from a distance, debated their next move. One member questioned Awan's hesitation. Their mission was to retrieve her for the XU family at any cost. The protagonist now realized they were indeed from the XU family. Awan replied that he'd seen it with his own eyes, zombies swarming the city and beasts following Junting's command. They had lost contact with their allies. The two of them couldn't handle this alone. But the other insisted they couldn't give up, not now. Just then, Xie Yangong appeared and mocked them. Look who we have here. The XU family, always hiding in the shadows. I never expected someone among you to have such guts. Awan turned. Who's there? Xie Yangong smiled. I've always had more strength than the rest of your clan. Just when the group thought things couldn't escalate further, the protagonist grew curious enough to engage directly. He activated his skill, analysis, and a system window appeared before him, revealing critical details about his enemies. The first was Yanlong, a human from the Saint Ancestral Village faction. His rank was equal to that of a high-level awakened being, currently sitting at level 25 with 5-star potential. His main ability, Blood of the Saint, granted him incredible physical enhancements through powerful stimulants, but it came at a cost, for it was highly toxic. His advanced skill allowed the evaporation of toxins through sweat, forming a deadly poisonous fog around him during combat. Then the system analyzed Yenu, also from the same faction, at level 22 with the same 5-star potential. Yenu's Blood of the Saint carried an alluring aroma that could attract nearby creatures, especially those with lower intelligence. His advanced abilities were far more manipulative. With Blood Debt, he could command animals by sacrificing his own blood. But even more frightening was unfair blood, which forced others to pay double the cost of the blood sacrifice, or surrender their life entirely. Those who failed to pay became his puppets. Yanlong sneered, threatening to turn his enemies into zombies. But the protagonist, anger rising, declared that he knew exactly who they were, soldiers of the Saint Ancestral Village, and that their strength was comparable to that of Junting. Realizing this could be a major lead, Junting insisted they capture the enemies alive. They might be able to extract critical information. But Awan, standing nearby, asked if these two really intended to turn people into zombies. The revelation was shocking. Zombies from the Saint Ancestral Village were already roaming the city. But what was their endgame? And why were they interfering now? Without wasting another second, a member of the JE family gave the command to attack. But the assault was cut short. Suddenly, many began to collapse. A strange sensation spread through their bodies. Yanlong mocked them, claiming their resistance was pitiful. The poisonous gas had already taken its toll. One of the monsters under Yenu's control pounced and killed a man instantly. Another fought back using magic, but Yanlong showed no concern. "You're not bad," he admitted, "but you don't have long to live." One JE family member, caught in the coils of a monstrous snake, gasped and threatened to make them surrender. But Awan refused to go down without a fight. Channeling all his magic, he caused a massive explosion. Yenu screamed out to protect his brother. The blast echoed like thunder, and Yanlong muttered with irritation, it was too close for comfort. Fortunately, their beasts had absorbed the brunt of the attack. At that moment, Junting descended from above. Her presence shifted the tide of the battle instantly. Yenu asked in surprise what she was doing there. Calmly, Junting declared that she could heal them. The Jiao brothers quickly greeted her, saying they had come to escort her back. But Junting sensed something wrong and prepared to purify the toxins within their bodies. Suddenly, Yenu noticed that his abilities were failing. In disbelief, Yanlong cried out, wasn't the Blood of the Saint supposed to remain dormant? How could she do this now? The Jiao brothers screamed in pain. Suppressing the holy blood within their mutated beasts caused a catastrophic reaction. But Junting remained calm. After purifying the monsters, she gently stroked one of them. If they didn't like it here, she whispered, they could return to the other snow beasts. Trying to rise, Yenu realized what had happened. She had completely suppressed their bloodline. Could she have fully awakened the blood of the goddess? Yanlong grabbed his head in shock. If that was true, they could no longer take her back to the Saint Ancestral Village. Her will had become far too strong. We're out of options, he muttered grimly. We must contact the leader. From the shadows, Ping asked if they really meant the leader of the Saint Ancestral Village. Could that terrifying woman actually be in Pearl City? Ping continued, revealing the truth. The leader, known only as A, was once the second mayor of Pearl City. Now, she was the most wanted criminal of the cleanup squad. She had murdered her master and left a scar on her own face, a constant reminder of her betrayal. Dangerous, unpredictable, and powerful enough to rival even their captain. Even if they couldn't control Junting, they could still capture the two awakened warriors. Just then, the protagonist, seizing the opportunity, activated his skill. Junting and the beasts had already escaped, leaving the two enemies vulnerable. The time to strike was now. Ping joined in, aiming to capture them alive. But they were suddenly ambushed from behind. Yanlong shouted in rage and shoved his brother away. Junting slammed him with magic, commanding him to stay down. Yenu cried out, ready to assist, but Ping materialized behind him, cloaking him in dark energy. He warned Yanlong to stay still. One wrong move and Yenu would pay with his life. Junting raised her ice weapon and demanded answers. Why had they come to Pearl City? Was their leader really hiding here? Yanlong grinned. He refused to answer. She struck him with her weapon, and he howled in agony. The protagonist, eyes burning, told him he could stay silent all he wanted, but she wouldn't stop slicing into him. He'd survive, just long enough to suffer. Yanlong hissed through clenched teeth, calling them true monsters. Somewhere deep in the forest, another scream rang out. Later, at the cleanup squad's base, Junting used magic to send a direct message to Captain Saitu. "It's urgent," she said. "We've captured 2 villagers from the Saint Ancestral Village. They admitted that their faction is targeting me because of my awakened bloodline, the blood of the goddess. But that's not all." Saitu, eyes narrowing, asked, "Is it her?" "Yes," she confirmed. "Their leader, A, is in Pearl City." Saitu clenched his fists. The worst-case scenario had come true. But it was time. Time for him to act personally.